A woman owns a mansion worth hundreds of billions. Not only does she have stunning looks, but also a cute son. The key is that her ugly husband has long since left her. Isn't this the very definition of winning at life? It's just a pity that the original owner was a complete domestic abuser. After Mel transmigrated here, she has been trying to mend her relationship with her son. In the original story, the son would personally take revenge after growing up, and she was the mother who had been abusing the child. Mel, who was abused by her drunk father in her past life, knows how much harm domestic violence can cause a child. She must first soothe the child's trauma. After accepting reality, she immediately asks where Yata is. But she is told the child has fallen ill and asked if she wants to handle it like before. Mel asks in confusion what like before means. It means locking the door until the young master recovers. Mel didn't expect the original owner to be so cruel to the child. She immediately heads to Yata's room in anger. There she sees a small, weak figure lying alone on the bed. There isn't even a decent blanket. Yata didn't expect his mother to come at this time. He thought she was here to blame him. Trembling, he explains that he didn't get sick on purpose. Apologizing, he says it doesn't hurt at all. He won't cause trouble for his mother. This sight deeply pierced Mel's heart. Before, she had only seen it from the perspective of the novel. Seeing Yata's condition in person was still hard to accept. She asked the maid why the child is so thin. She didn't expect that Yata hadn't been fed for days. She quickly tells the maid to prepare some food for Yata. Seeing his mother approach, he becomes even more scared. Mel touches the child's body. It's very hot. His condition is very poor. She reaches out to touch his head. Unexpectedly, Yata instinctively cries and apologizes, repeatedly saying he won't cause trouble for his mother. Mel can only gently hug Yata. Facing a child who keeps apologizing, she issues a decree. From today on, he is not allowed to say sorry. A sick child should absolutely not say sorry. At a time like this, he should be resting well, not apologizing. After speaking, Mel looks around again. Such a filthy environment, and no one has cleaned it. Even the drinking water is dark. Just then, the maid brings food for Yata. It's just some leftovers. Mel remembers that in the original story, compared to the original owner's neglect, her personal maid was the one who directly abused Yata. Mel violently throws the tray away. She orders the maid to bring some food fit for a human. Mel begins her revenge on the maid. After a few dozen minutes, the maid is panting from running back and forth. Meanwhile, Mel focuses on feeding Yata soup. She knows the child's heart is already full of thorns. In Yata's heart, she, his mother, must be the source of his pain. Someone must give him proper guidance. Duke Raxia from the original story is the best choice. Yata will only get better if he lives with him. The only thing she can do is stay away from Yata. On the other side, the maid, who is sent to get medicine again, hasn't realized her master has changed. She still thinks this is just a mind game, to wait until the young master falls for it, then cruelly push him away. Little does she know, she's the one about to be eliminated from the game. After giving all her orders, Mel directly tells the maid to leave the estate. Seeing the maid refuse to leave, she takes off her own earring and places it in the maid's hand. So, are you being kicked out for stealing from your master now? Or will you leave quietly on your own? The maid is frightened by Mel's sudden change. She quickly tucks her tail and flees. Then, Mel carries Yata back to her own room and makes a resolution. From now on, she will make him happy every day. After settling Yata down, she calls for the estate's maids and tells them to spread the word that her personal maid stole something. The person who bullied Yata cannot be let off so easily. She also doesn't forget to have the maids tell everyone. If anyone dares to bully Yata again, she will not let them off easily. Early the next morning, Mel heads to Duke Raxia's estate. The maid is very worried about Mel going without an invitation. The Duke is a very cold-blooded and ruthless person. The number of women he has rejected is countless. He is even a notorious figure in high society. Although Mel goes with full confidence, she is also mentally prepared for rejection. To make him Yata's adoptive father, she must meet him even if it means bowing her head. Soon, the carriage arrives at the Duke's estate. A knight approaches and asks if she has an appointment. Mel directly hits him with a critical beauty attack, giving the soldier a little shock. As expected, good looks are useful. She casually says she has an appointment, and the knight believes her. He firmly believes that a woman who looks like an angel would not lie. He then leads Mel to meet the legendary Duke Raxia. The woman in order to secure a better future for her child, is willing to use her beauty to become the Duke's fiancée. On the way, Mel had thought she would be rejected. She didn't expect to enter the Duke's estate so smoothly. When she saw the Duke in person, Mel finally understood why countless young women threw themselves at him. He was a man so handsome, it was against the rules. But the words he spoke were terrifying. How dare you come in under my name without an appointment? You'd better give me a reasonable explanation. Mel immediately apologizes sincerely. If I didn't do this, you wouldn't have seen me. But you clearly knew it was a lie. Why did you let me in? The Duke just smiles. Many women have pursued me before, but you're the first one this bold. Although you are very beautiful, if you don't give me a satisfactory answer, I will not hesitate to ruin your pretty face. He really is the merciless Duke of rumors. In the original story, he also had no interest in women and utterly hated the women who pursued him. This trip requires a reason persuasive enough for him. However, Mel, who knows the plot well, is extremely confident. At this point in time, the Duke is still troubled by the loss of a diamond mine. Mel gets straight to the point about the current situation and the information about the spy inside that the Duke is desperate to know. She claims she can help him catch that mole and will also give the Duke the development rights to the mine. She then takes out a plan she had prepared in advance. It records the spy's identity, the people he has contacted, and the information he is about to transmit. The Duke couldn't possibly be uninterested in this document. Thanks to reading the novel over and over in her past life, she knows all the details inside out. The Duke seriously asks Mel if the information is reliable. Mel states that what's written is absolutely true. If the Duke is willing to obtain this information, in exchange, you need to sign a marriage contract with me. The Duke clearly didn't see this request coming, and this was precisely Mel's purpose for coming. In the novel, Yata, who was kicked out of the house, met the Duke and was taken in as his adopted son. But now, she is not the original owner. She would never kick the child out. Only in this way can Yata continue to be the Duke's adopted son. This deal is a sure win for the Duke. Through the marriage, he can become a co-owner of the mine, and the marriage contract will expire after 1 year. During this year, they will only be a nominal couple. The Duke is still very confident, believing that Mel won't get any love from him either. But he doesn't understand why Mel would sign a contract that has no benefit for herself. Doesn't she want to gain anything from a marriage? Of course, Mel has a motive. All she wants is for him to be her child's father. But she can't say it like that now. She can only tell the Duke he will find out later. Just like that, the two reached a preliminary agreement. Mel also has to go home to see her child. After Mel leaves, the Duke suddenly lets out a chuckle. What an interesting woman. Maybe giving it a try isn't a bad idea. Returning home, Mel immediately goes to check on him. She has already had the maids arrange a south-facing room. Yata has fallen asleep after taking his medicine. Such a good-looking child absolutely cannot be allowed to become crooked. All she can do now is take good care of him. She goes to the kitchen and makes all sorts of small pastries. Just as she puts them in the oven, she hears a banging sound. Mel turns her head in confusion. It's her dead husband's mother, Mel's mother-in-law. She doesn't care at all about her son's death, but covets the wealth he left behind. She absolutely cannot let the fortune fall into her hands. Mel leads the woman to the reception room. The mother-in-law immediately starts scolding Mel for her colorful clothes. As a widow, you should wear black clothes. She even says Mel was the one who killed her son. Mel doesn't waste words with her and gets straight to the point. You didn't come here today just to say this, did you? Of course, I'm here to take back my son's inheritance. Do you think you can still live in this mansion? Mel is just as blunt. This mansion belongs to me and my son. I have his will. Hearing this, the woman instantly loses her composure. She has been looking for the will. Mel knows the woman will never find it. The moment the original owner got the will, she hid it in a place no one could find. This is also why Mel was able to get the mansion. The will is in a bank. I'm sure you can't forge it either. In the Empire, not even members of the royal family can touch what's in a bank. The woman is also very clear about this. She can only leave in anger. The troublesome person is gone. The only thing to do now is to let Yata live happily every day. The boy never would have thought that the mother who was always cold to him would suddenly become so nice. So much so that when they ate dessert, the two had completely different reactions. Mel watched her son eating the dessert and couldn't help but scream internally, so cute. But little Yata thought his mother was just watching him and not eating. It must be because he was there that his mother had no appetite. Mel was also shocked by the child's thoughts. It seems the original owner's harm to Yata was too deep. She must show all her sincerity. She immediately tells Yata that's not the case. She also apologizes for her past indifference and for letting the maid bully him. She promises that she will never let anyone hurt him again. I know it's difficult, but please believe me this once. Faced with his mother's sudden show of affection, Yata is at a loss. Mel also specially prepared a new cravat for the child. He happily accepts it. This was the first time he had ever received a gift from his mother. He looks exceptionally cute after putting it on. Although he doesn't know the reason for his mother's sudden change, this feeling is very blissful. He hopes there will be more good days like this in the future. The next day, Mel arrives at the Duke's estate on time. She had previously gone to the place of the spy's activities. However, that person was very cautious and left after Mel went in. She could only write down the detailed activities from memory. To prevent the spy from noticing, Mel decides to go and catch him personally today. Unexpectedly, the Duke wants to go with her. Mel is surprised. Shouldn't you be busy? In front of a pile of unprocessed documents, he says he's free. It seems he really wants to go. The Duke, having gotten her consent, is all smiles. Just like that, the two of them arrive at a casino. Mel guesses the person should be in the VIP room on the second floor, but they're blocked when trying to go upstairs. The Duke puts an arm around Mel. What? My wife can't go up with me. Only then is Mel glad she brought the Duke along. Otherwise, she might not have been able to get in. But when they actually get to the door, Mel starts to feel nervous. She's not sure if she can do this right. This matter concerns the survival of the Duke's family, as well as Yata's future. If things go smoothly and she marries the Duke, Yata can become his adopted son. Just as Mel musters her courage to enter, she is stopped by the Duke. The door is then suddenly pushed open. After the man sees the Duke standing outside, he frantically tries to escape, but is cornered by the Duke. In his panic, he grabs Mel, who is knocked to the ground, to threaten the Duke not to make a move. Seeing Mel captured, the Duke doesn't dare to move. The spy becomes more convinced that she is someone important to him. If he uses her as a hostage, it's the best chance to kill the Duke. Since his identity is exposed, he won't live anyway. He immediately tells the Duke to close his eyes and turn around. At this moment, the Duke also realizes the danger. The current situation is very unfavorable. He might even lose his life. But compared to that, for some reason, he doesn't want to see Mel get hurt even more. Then, the spy violently shoves Mel away and stabs towards the Duke. For Mel, this mission must succeed, even if she gets hurt. She follows the spy and blocks the blade that was about to stab the Duke. Seeing Mel get injured, the Duke explodes. After pinning the spy to the ground, he tells Mel to leave. He wants to deal with this person himself. He can't let Mel see this brutal side of him. Due to his extreme anger, he couldn't even control his strength and killed the man before interrogating him for any information. Since when did he become someone who can't control his emotions? But right now, Mel's injury is more important. He doesn't understand why the woman would block the attack for him. On her end, Mel doesn't know how to explain it either. She can't just say it was for Yata. So she says she likes the Duke's face and didn't want such a handsome face to get hurt. The Duke is completely won over by this sentence. The cold and cruel Duke falls in love for the first time. He even thinks he has a terminal illness. Even his subordinates can't help but guess if he wants to kill someone. Otherwise, why would he be smiling like that? After Mel's wound is bandaged, the Duke keeps staring at her departing carriage. Girls have always praised his looks before, but this is the first time he's been so moved by such words, leaving him at a loss for what to do. Every time he thinks of Mel, his heart is filled with joy. A foolishly infatuated smile appears on his face without him realizing. This scares his subordinates who are passing by after finishing their training. Seeing his Grace's smile, he must have some plan. I wonder who will be the unlucky one this time. Early the next morning, Mel discovers a carrier pigeon on her balcony. She opens the letter in confusion and finds it's a letter from the Duke asking to meet. The content, no matter how you look at it, is like a little puppy showing affection to its owner. Coincidentally, she was planning to go see him today anyway. So she returns to her room and writes a reply to meet in the evening. In the evening, Mel was about to ask a maid to prepare a carriage. But the maid says that if she's going to the Duke's estate, there's already one outside the window, prepared long ago. She didn't expect the Duke to have such a romantic side. As soon as she arrives, he personally opens the door to welcome her saying, "I don't know how worried I was about my fiancé. There was no news after you went back. Everything in the letter was true. I really missed you." Mel suddenly feels that the current Duke is more like a little puppy. Joking around, Mel doesn't forget to confirm business. The matter from yesterday has been successfully completed. She also brought the contract. But the Duke, who finally gets to see his wife, doesn't want to talk about work. Let's talk about what you've been up to lately. Although she doesn't understand what he's up to, Mel can only play along that I've been baking macarons and small cakes recently. The Duke immediately chimes in. "Do you like sweets? Did you make those yourself?" "Yes, but those were made for someone." Hearing "for someone," the Duke's face immediately darkens. "Who did you give them to?" "I don't remember receiving any." "Who is this person you personally make desserts for?" When he hears Mel say it's her son, he freezes for 2 seconds, then bursts out laughing. Right. I forgot you have a son." Mel can't help but feel puzzled. This personality is not quite the same as described in the book. In this contract, she has only one condition, that the Duke adopts Yata and raises him well. Only with the Duke's training can Yata manifest the rings like in the original story. This way, the Duke will truly treat him as a son. The love-struck Duke certainly won't refuse. He even proposes that during the contract period, they must act like a real couple. Although Mel is surprised, having come here, she doesn't plan to fall in love again, so she readily signs the contract. Unexpectedly, the Duke hands her another marriage agreement. The Duke actually wants to report their marriage to the Empire. He, however, is nonchalant about it. "If we're going to do it, we should do it right. Besides, I don't plan to marry again anyway." Mel didn't expect him to submit a marriage certificate for such a reason. Just then, the door is suddenly pushed open and a woman walks in. "Are you really going to get married in secret like this?" Mel recognizes this person. It's the Duke's mother, Cameron. "So you're the woman who's going to marry my son." Facing the woman before her, Mel feels a bit nervous. After all, this is her future mother-in-law. She thought a big fight was about to break out, but the subsequent development leaves Mel dumbfounded. Cameron directly brings out the family's heirloom jewelry. "This is my favorite. Your skin is fair. It will definitely look good on you." Mel is full of doubt about this sudden turn of events. It turns out Cameron had always been worried about her son's marriage. He always turned all the girls away. Mel, who had never felt familial love in her past life, is at a loss at this sudden show of affection. Besides, theirs is just a contract marriage. With her family background and the fact that this is her second marriage, she doesn't deserve to be treated like this. These words make both mother and son frown. The Duke who said yesterday he wouldn't fall in love has turned into a courting peacock overnight. Seeing Mel's lack of confidence, he immediately steps forward to comfort her. The mother-in-law also disagrees with what Mel said. "Your family background and marriage history don't represent anything. Our family would not tolerate someone who doesn't respect others. As long as my son truly loves you, I will also love you unconditionally." This is a mother's attitude towards her son. Mel, who has never felt familial love, feels very warm. For her, in her past life, marriage was an unattainable luxury. A broken family and a domestically abusive father made up her entire life. She used to think being alone was the best choice. Now, she's starting to waver. If she also had a mother like Cameron, she would surely live a very happy life. The Duke also immediately states his position. "After we get married, my family will be yours too. We will all become each other's family. If you're willing, let's extend the contract. How about for 100 years, wife? Isn't it a pity to only be with family for 1 year?" Mel didn't expect the Duke to suddenly make this request. She can only change the subject for now. She takes out an invitation she received and asks the Duke if he wants to attend with her. But from his expression, it seems he didn't receive one. The atmosphere falls into a long, awkward silence. Mel asks uncertainly if he didn't receive an invitation, but she didn't expect that the Duke threw it away as soon as he got it. She has to say she'll find someone else to go with. She doesn't want the Duke to go to a party he doesn't want to attend because of her. But the Duke is not about to let his wife find someone else now. "If you don't take me, who will you take?" Instead of asking someone else, "You might as well take me." Mel can't refute this, and so it's settled. Suddenly, she is drawn to the gun at the Duke's waist. The novel also mentioned this gun. Seeing it in person is really different. In her past life, she had fantasized countless times about being able to shoot herself with one shot, but she never expected her end would be so pathetic. The Duke also notices that Mel's posture for holding the gun is very standard. It seems his wife is very interested in guns. He takes the gun and injects a ring into it. Rings are substances emitted from a caster's body. They have immense destructive power and great potential. When a ring is used as a bullet, it returns to the body after passing through the target. But this is not an ability everyone possesses. In the novel, it took Yata 8 years to acquire 3. The number the Duke currently possesses is astonishing. Seeing Mel staring at these rings, he asks in confusion, "Are these rings better looking than my face?" This expression and tone of his in Mel's eyes make him seem even more like a puppy. She can't help but pat his head. The Duke also realizes Mel is treating him like a puppy. Although he complains verbally, the back of his ears are already bright red. Mel doesn't return to the estate until evening. She also specially brought back dessert for Yata. He's so thin, he needs to eat more. After knocking on the door, the little guy looks secretive. Was he interrupted while doing something just now? She shows the little guy the dessert she brought back. She's sure he will like it. As expected, as soon as Yata takes a bite, he happily says it's delicious and even wants his mother to have a taste. This gesture moves Mel deeply. Although Yata doesn't completely trust her yet, he is already trying very hard to get closer. I had to respond properly to Yata's courage. I lowered my head and ate the cake he offered. Yata's eyes lit up instantly. He happily finished the rest of the pudding. Mel also wanted to invite Yata to the courtyard to play on the swing. Hearing this, the little one's expression changed immediately. The girl possessed a 10 billion inheritance, a mother-in-law who loved to give her money, and a cute child. Unfortunately, the original owner was an abusive woman. She even destroyed the child's favorite swing with her own hands. This left an indelible scar on Yata's heart, so much so that after becoming emperor, he returned to the mansion to weave a swing for himself. Mel couldn't help but feel heartache thinking about Yata's fate in the book. Fortunately, she had fixed the swing for Yata in time, hoping to slightly mend the child's trauma. Sure enough, Yata was exceptionally happy after seeing the swing. However, an apology to the child was still necessary. She promised she would never let him get hurt again. But unexpectedly, little Yata had even prepared a gift for her. He wanted to go somewhere in a hurry and accidentally tripped on a stone under his feet. Mel hurried forward to check on him. Even though the little one's knees were already scraped red, he bravely said it was nothing. Mel understood Yata's feelings very well. In her previous life, she was the same, enduring all pain for fear of being scolded. She gently hugged Yata, as if embracing her younger self. From now on, you don't have to hide yourself around Mom. Being in pain is not your fault. Next time, you have to say it out loud. She would definitely give Yata all her love. Such a lovely child couldn't be allowed to turn bad because of childhood trauma. She urged the dazed Yata to go back and apply medicine. Unexpectedly, the little one suddenly shouted, "Can you hold my hand?" Upon getting her agreement, he beamed with joy in an instant. Perhaps Yata had always longed for his mother's love. After returning to the room, he fidgeted with his hands behind his back. "Actually, I just made this in my room. I don't know if Mom will like it." Mel happily patted the little one's head. "As long as it's from our Yata, I'll love it." When the little one handed her a rose, Mel was still stunned. Could it be that he had been making this all these days? Compared to the gift made by the child's own hands, what she had done before was so insignificant. Yata was also very happy to see his mother smile after receiving the gift. The next day, Mel went to the Duke and brought the formal contract. The Duke was very dissatisfied that Mel started talking about the contract as soon as they met, but she was surprised to find that he had drunk the milk tea she specially prepared. "I made you tea before, but you never drank it once. So you do like sweets after all. I prepared this especially for you. Do you like it?" Mel didn't expect that drinking a cup of milk tea could make the Duke so happy. She urged him to sign the contract quickly. After this matter was settled, the next step was to have Yata practice manifesting his rings faster. In that case, the Duke was the best teacher. In his family, most people had the ability to manifest rings. Those who couldn't use it would be ostracized by the family. In the novel, it took Yata 8 years to have 3 rings. Even during his time as emperor, he only had 7. But the Duke's current number far exceeded that. If her guess was correct, even people not from the Duke's family could manifest rings. Mel wanted the Duke to teach her how to use the rings so she could help Yata. The Duke, however, took the opportunity to propose a condition. "Kiss me once a day, and I'll teach you." Mel rolled her eyes helplessly. The Duke seemed to love joking around now. Unable to get his way, he could only agree with his wife. This way, they could also have more time to meet. Mel also learned that there were only 3 people in the Duke's mansion who could use the rings. Among them was the teacher who taught Yata in the original novel. She wanted to get to know these three people first. How could the jealous man agree? He grumbled unhappily that their time alone would be interrupted. But we'll get to know them after we're married anyway. So I want you to introduce them to me first. In the end, the Duke was defeated by her stunning beauty. No one expected it, that His Highness, whom they hadn't seen for just a week, would suddenly no longer be single. Ross studied the letter in disbelief. Finally, the two reached a consensus. This must be a sign of forming a new alliance. It was just a cover-up, because His Highness would absolutely never like women. But the next second, they were shocked by the scene before them. Their Highness not only brought a woman with him, but he was also smiling so brightly. This must be a dream. The Duke completely ignored his subordinate's expressions and introduced Mel on his own. The original novel said Sizet had silver hair, so these two were obviously not him. But after waiting for a long time without an introduction from the Duke, she turned back and asked in confusion, "Weren't you going to introduce us? Just call them whatever. It's fine if you don't know what to call them." Mel was about to be driven mad by him. Only then did the Duke introduce the commander, Ross, but he still didn't mention Lug at all. After Mel and the Duke left, the two sat on the floor, completely baffled. Did something happen to His Highness while I was away from the castle? Do you think something could happen to His Highness? Ross sighed helplessly. He had been a commander for 10 years and still couldn't figure it out. Unexpectedly, he was mocked by Lug. Only one ring in 10 years. Just as the two were arguing, a silver-haired man walked in. A few days later, Mel attended a banquet at the Helen family's home. Fortunately, she had crammed information about the nobility a few days ago. Among them was a very strange letter. Because it was anonymous, she had no idea who sent it. Just then, a woman interrupted Mel's thoughts. Mel recognized her as Lady Navelle. She came up and asked if Mel was getting married. This question was also expected. Unexpectedly, someone was gossiping behind her back, saying she was trying to climb into high society through marriage. Mel directly stated that her marriage partner was the Duke, which sparked even more discussion among the people behind her. Lady Navelle led Mel away from there. Mel didn't know if Lady Navelle was a friend or foe. Not wanting to be caught in the middle, she hastily found an excuse to leave. She turned her head and saw a familiar man. Judging by the crest, he was from the Black family. She didn't remember ever seeing him, so why did he look so familiar? While she was thinking, the man unexpectedly walked straight over. Are you wondering if we've met before? For a moment, Mel didn't know what to do. But in the book, the original owner had never met this person. "I'm sorry, it's impossible that we've met." The man then apologized and left. But Mel still felt that this person was very familiar. Could it be because he resembled her father? She turned her head and the Duke kissed her hand. Mel awkwardly pulled her hand back, telling the Duke not to do such things in public. "But I missed you so much." Mel was speechless. "We just saw each other yesterday. A day apart feels like 3 years. Then he happily intertwined his fingers with his wife-to-be, facing everyone's gazes. Mel shyly told the Duke to be more discreet. The Duke didn't care at all. "What does it matter? I'm yours no matter what." This made Mel blush even more. She stammered for the Duke to go somewhere else with her. "Too many people are watching here. Don't tell me you're afraid of being seen by that ugly man with a wrinkled face and a protruding belly. You seem very interested in that person. You even talked to him." Only then did Mel understand why the Duke was suddenly acting like this. She didn't expect him to be jealous of an uncle with a protruding belly. She quickly explained that they had no connection. She looked amusingly at the little puppy. "Duke, since it's like this, just focus your attention on me. Don't think about other things." The Duke, who said he would never love again, was finally eating his words. Now he was even jealous of an old man. His love-struck appearance stunned everyone. Mel followed the Duke to the balcony and asked him why he was so late. The Duke explained that he was delayed by something. He was looking for something, but in the end, he couldn't find it. If it was something he was looking for, it must be the shadow. That is, a corrupted ring. Compared to ordinary rings, it cannot return to the user's hand. Once it touches an ordinary ring, it will attach to it until it drains all its energy. The Duke was investigating this matter, but she came to the party this time to see Haley. Why hadn't she seen her yet? Who knew that just as she said it, she saw the person? Mel was in a hurry to go find her. She completely forgot about the Duke's presence. After learning that Mel was going to meet a key person for the mine, he mischievously made her promise one request before she left. That is to put your lips on mine. Mel was instantly flustered, her face red and her heart pounding. And behind them, Lady Navelle saw everything. She had thought it was just an act for show. but Mel seemed to truly love the Duke. The word cute was completely different from Mel's previous image. Although she didn't know why, she preferred the current Mel. In the end, Mel still rejected the Duke's request for a kiss. Just then, Lug appeared, interrupting their conversation. Mel used it as an excuse to leave directly and found Haley in the banquet hall. The two politely greeted each other. Mel noticed that Haley's gaze was constantly directed behind her. The man standing in the middle was Dawson. As expected, Haley really didn't like him. It had reached a point where she couldn't control her expression. Mel wanted to talk somewhere else, but she could see Haley was still staring ahead. Who knew she would suddenly retract her gaze and ask about Mel's remarriage? It seems your relationship with the Duke is very good. Mel was puzzled as to how she knew. It's because the Duke is watching you nonstop, and with such a pitiful look. Mel had no choice but to awkwardly suggest they move to another place. And so, the two went to the reception room. Mel directly asked Haley if she wanted to take over the family. Haley was startled by the sudden question. Calm down. I think you're more suited for the position. Haley confessed that she was still considering it. She asked Mel if she had the ability to put her in that position. I guarantee I can give you what you want. But in exchange, if the mind Dawson ends up in your hands, you hand it over to me. I will help you get to that position within a year. Haley accepted Mel's conditions. The two thus reached a cooperation. On the other side, the Duke had already become a statue waiting for his wife. He completely ignored Lug's complaints. I don't want to talk to someone who interrupted my date with my wife. Lug now deeply regretted appearing here just now. At this moment, a shadow suddenly appeared above the banquet hall. The Duke immediately went into work mode, ordering Lug to stay here and send Mel back. When Mel came out after finishing her discussion, she only saw Lug. She guessed he must have suddenly left because he found a trace of the shadow. Sure enough, Lug's explanation confirmed it. It will be better if I went with Sizit, but I have to stay and take care of you. Seeing Mel's expression, he panicked and explained that Sizit was their knight. Mel wasn't jealous. She just wanted to find a teacher for her son. At the same time, Sizit was also her second favorite character in the original novel. She regretted not being able to meet him last time and asked Lug if he could introduce them. She just wanted to meet him first. The girl finally met the man she had been longing to see. Led by Lug, she arrived at Sizit's house. Mel stepped forward before Lug could get hit. In the original novel, Sizit became Yata's teacher and also a very good brother, but he was also equally inscrutable. Sizit asked in confusion who Mel was. Before she could answer, Lug mercilessly cut in. If you're so mean to her, you'll suffer later. Mel quickly stepped forward to introduce herself. Your mission today is to accompany Miss Mel around the mansion. A moment later, Sizit finished changing. He looked even more handsome in his knight uniform. Lug was worried that he would blame himself for the failure of the last mission, so he took this opportunity to let him go out for a walk. However, Sizit really did look like his description in the original novel. Who knew that when the two of them went out together, it was exceptionally awkward. She had to bring up the Duke as a topic, asking if he was busy with work recently. Unexpectedly, the Duke that Sizit described was completely different from the one she knew. They had found a black magic stone mine on this search. This was a very precious thing in the novel. Unfortunately, most of the mine was coal. The compatibility with iron core rings was very poor. It would take a lot of time and money, so there was no need to develop it. Hearing this, Mel suddenly became confident. Her previous deal with Haley could now be useful. Perhaps I'll be able to give the Duke a gift very soon. Seeing such a brilliant smile, Sizit suddenly lowered his head. His cheeks turned red where Mel couldn't see. In that moment, I think I saw something. But Mel thought Sizit was probably just tired. He's even having hallucinations. A few days later, her former mother-in-law came again to ask for the will. This time, Mel was fully prepared. The woman snatched the will from Mel's hand. Without a word, she tore it to shreds. Mel was unusually calm. Don't tear it. That's a fake. That one was just a copy. This is the real one. Do you also want to see the bank's deposit record? The woman became even more furious, constantly cursing at Mel. Mel no longer held back. You should know that I am about to remarry. My partner is the Duke. According to aristocratic etiquette, you must now treat me as you would a duchess. The woman, in order to give her child a better life, had specially found him a stepfather as rich as a nation. Who knew her former mother-in-law would still dare to come and make a scene? Mel was no longer polite and directly brought up her fiancé's status. The reason I'm still seeing you is because there's something I want from you. The woman was a bit surprised, not knowing what Mel wanted. Mel thought about how to get her to agree to her conditions. First is the authority to travel to the kingdom of Nixon. The second is custody of Yata. The woman didn't expect that this was all Mel wanted. The travel permit wasn't worth much, and Yata was of no use to her. Seeing the woman remain silent, Mel proposed that she would exchange something with her, not just simply ask for it. The woman was already overjoyed inside, but still pretended to be troubled on the surface. You know, these two things are very important to me. What will you exchange for them? Mel was also prepared, thinking of the abandoned mine Sizit mentioned. The Duke has a black magic stone mine. How about I exchange that? The woman was full of disbelief after hearing this. You're going to give me the magic stone mine? Secretly, she was mocking Mel for not understanding the value of a black magic mine, to actually use it for an exchange. Afraid that Mel would go back on her word, she immediately agreed and told the maid beside her to quickly fetch a contract. Mel was also happy with the outcome. It was good to achieve her goal so peacefully. In the following days, Mel's recent work was almost all taken care of. The only thing that troubled her was how to tell Yata about her remarriage. If she introduced the two of them directly, it might be too sudden for Yata to accept. She thought for a long time, but couldn't come up with a good method. Everything had been going smoothly these past few months. If I just tell Yata the truth, he'll accept it, right? In the afternoon, Mel called Yata to have afternoon tea together. The little one's eyes lit up as soon as he saw the desserts. He took a big, satisfying bite. Mel was very happy that Yata liked cake. Just then, she saw some leftover cake on the corner of his mouth. She reached out to help him wipe it off. Who knew the little one would reflexively close his eyes and tremble all over? Mel had to awkwardly withdraw her hand and took out a handkerchief for little Yata to wipe it himself. The moment he saw the handkerchief, Yata finally broke down, turning all his anxiety from this period into tears. Mel was instantly flustered and asked her son what was wrong. Yata sobbed, "You're so good to me. Why were you like that before?" Mel wiped her son's tears with a heavy heart. For Yata, he didn't know his mother's soul had been replaced. He must have been very confused, but he had endured it until now. Yata, Mommy is sorry. During that time, Mommy had lost her husband. That's why I treated you that way. It will never happen again. I promise. You are my most precious treasure. The little one cried his heart out in his mother's arms. Only after a long while did he pull away and wipe his own tears. Mel also felt it was time to tell Yata, "We're going to have a new family member soon." Yata was very confused about what this meant, but his mother told him that she was going to marry a very good man. He's a very lovely person and will also be a good father. But if Yata doesn't want a new father, you can tell me. But the little one shook his head firmly. It's okay. I think he will also be an angelic person like Mom. If you don't mind then, can we go see him together? The next day, Mel took her son to the Duke's mansion. Yata was very nervous. His hands and feet were trembling. Mel took in her son's adorable appearance. The little one even said he wasn't nervous, though he clearly was. Soon, the two arrived at their destination. Mel carried her son down from the carriage. The Duke was already standing at the door to welcome them, but he said with a hint of jealousy, "If only you could be as intimate with me." This made Yata have great doubts about this stepfather. Is it true that Mom said my stepfather is a kind person? The jealous Duke was getting jealous again and again. The object of his jealousy was even his own future son. This made little Yata doubt his mother's words. They came to the already prepared dining table. Yata, however, was fidgety because the chair wasn't suitable for him. After learning this, Mel directly invited her son to sit on her lap. Yata hesitated, thinking it was improper, but his mother directly pulled him onto her lap. Just after doing this, Mel felt a pair of eyes staring intently at her. Seeing Mel look over, the Duke immediately resumed his smile, but his previous expression was still seen by Yata. He noticed his stepfather was looking over here with a scary expression. He thought it must be his impolite behavior that made him disliked. The truth was, little Yata was overthinking it. This future stepfather was just prone to jealousy. The next second, he showed his true colors, telling Mel about his anticipation for Yata, eager to get to know him better. How about letting him sit on my lap? Believe me, I can take good care of him. Yata didn't expect this turn of events either. Although the foster father opposite him looked scary, he still chose to believe his mother's words. Mom said his stepfather was a kind person. He could also see that he liked his mother very much. In the end, he agreed to the request. The Duke also successfully got Yata to sit on his lap. This skill maneuver made Mel a little surprised. The Duke looked like he often took care of children, but he proudly said he was good at everything, while also bringing Yata his favorite, macarons. This scene made Mel believe he would be a good father. They even looked very similar, just like a real father and son. He helped Yata wipe the residue from the corner of his mouth. Yata also gradually let go of his earlier fear. The three of them chatted happily until all the desserts were gone. Little Yata had also fallen asleep in his father's arms. I think our son is tired. He called a maid to take Yata to her room to sleep. The two then went for a walk in the garden. The Duke asked Mel what flower she liked, but got the answer that she wanted to put a swing in the garden, because that was Yata's favorite. This made the Duke, who had just had a bowl of vinegar, have another. But what could he do? That was his son too. So he asked Mel if she liked this garden. Yes, this place feels different from where I walked with Sizit last time. The Duke's face instantly darkened. How come I don't know about this? Mel explained that Lug had asked him to escort her. In order not to worry Mel, the Duke suppressed the urge to hit someone. I think I'm just too nervous because you're by my side. Our hands also touch from time to time. We've been walking for so long. You must be tired. Let's go to a relaxing place. That garden over there has a secret area. Mel's interest was instantly piqued after hearing this. That place was also mentioned in the novel. In order to have her son master magic as soon as possible, the girl asked her fiancé to teach her, who knew that a casual attempt would summon a rare golden magic ring. But in the original story, Yata practiced for 8 years just to summon one. During that time, he went through very painful practice sessions. He often hid and cried in a secret corner of a garden. This is the place the Duke is about to take Mel to. It was indeed a very beautiful corner. The Duke pointed out that there was a seat here. Just as Mel hesitated, looking at the single seat, wondering whether to go and sit, the Duke had already plopped himself down on it. "Weren't you going to let me sit here?" The Duke smiled and patted his own thigh. "I think you could just sit here." With that, he pulled Mel into his arms. "Meeting you has been very fortunate for me." As he spoke, a necklace appeared on Mel's neck. Mel looked at it in confusion, asking what it was. "This is my wedding gift to you. I hope you like it." Mel could sense the power of the ring within it. She suddenly remembered asking the Duke to teach her last time. She asked if he remembered. "Of course. I remember every word you've said." Mel immediately became shy. How could the Duke always say such sweet things without even blinking? At Mel's request, the Duke decided to teach her how to use it today. He had actually already prepared a gift for Mel's studies. Mel looked at the pair of couple's pistols, wondering if she should bring him some handmade cookies next time. The Duke confessed at the side that he was born with the ability to use them, but he wasn't as good at teaching as Sizit. However, he would not let Sizit teach Mel. Mel was speechless. She didn't know why the Duke was so hostile towards Sizit. The Duke simply showed Mel how to use it, and just like that, the lesson was over. Mel was stunned that it ended just like that. She didn't even know how to summon the ring. But the Duke suggested firing a few shots first to get the feel of it. Thinking about how it took Yata 8 years to succeed, even with the help of the knights, she figured it wouldn't be that easy for her. With a let's just try attitude, she raised the gun and tried to feel the sensation the Duke described. She abruptly pressed the trigger. What neither of them expected was a golden ring was actually hovering not far away. Mel looked at her hand in disbelief. She couldn't believe she had actually succeeded on her first try. The next day, Mel returned to her room, sorting through the recent events. Everything was going too smoothly, which made her feel uneasy. The current developments had already deviated from the original story's plot. She had a feeling that something big was about to happen. As she was thinking, a maid suddenly cried out, "This is bad." Looking at the maid's drastically changed expression, "It's bad. His Majesty, the Emperor." Before the maid could finish, she was pushed aside by someone who entered. "Mel, I come to get you. Mel, I come to get you." The woman thought she could marry and live a stable life, but unexpectedly, the villain from the original story came looking for her. Facing the Emperor's sudden visit, she could only step forward to greet him, but he pulled her close. "I'm reminded of the cat that ran away from home a few years ago. I'll deal with that cat later." The Emperor's words left Mel full of questions. It seemed he was comparing her to that cat. Did the original owner know the Emperor? The Emperor, as the villain in the original story, was also the owner of a corrupted ring. He had always been a check on the Duke and Yata. But the original story never mentioned that Mel knew the Emperor. While she was still thinking, the Emperor pulled her close by the waist again. "It's been a while. You've gotten prettier." He then picked Mel up in his arms. Despite Mel's repeated demands to be put down, the Emperor wouldn't let go. "It's clear I'm not here to pick you up, but to kidnap you." And so, the two of them arrived at the reception hall. Mel still hadn't figured out the current situation. She had to find out the relationship between the original owner and the Emperor. Based on what the Emperor just said about the runaway cat, she could infer their relationship wasn't good. For now, it was better to pretend she didn't know him. Who knew that the next second, he would suddenly approach her again? "Can you take a look at this?" As he spoke, he placed his fingers on Mel's chin. A ring also appeared in the Emperor's hand. Mel couldn't understand what this had to do with her. Instantly, the number of rings multiplied and appeared on Mel's hand. The Emperor was pleasantly surprised. Just as expected, you can use the rings. Only then did Mel understand that the original owner could also use rings, and her rings were a holy golden color. So the Emperor had been using Mel's rings to evolve his corrupted ring. In the original story, the Emperor, before inheriting the throne, did not have a strong claim. But suddenly, he gained immense power and overwhelming support, successfully inheriting the throne. At the time, Mel wondered how he did it, but it made sense if he had used Mel's power. In the novel setting, very few people could use rings. Mel guessed she was one of them, discovered and used by the Emperor, but the original owner didn't want to be used. So she hastily married her ex-husband, Marshall. She felt that if she had a husband, the Emperor couldn't easily come looking for her. Now that her husband was dead, the Emperor had come knocking. Then, Mel looked at her hand and found that the ring had already evolved. The Emperor was also very pleased. It seems your rings still remember me. The current situation was very unfavorable, and the Emperor wouldn't let her go easily. Mel still spoke up, saying it was time for her to leave. The Emperor suddenly grabbed Mel's hand again. I'm not finished yet. It seems pets become disobedient if they wander for too long. Even so, I won't let you go. I don't know what plans you have marrying the Duke. That Duke, famous for his lack of interest in women, should not possibly love you. So it must be a contract marriage. The only one who truly loves you is me. Mel knew the Emperor was acting so affectionate only to use her. These men always love to talk about feelings. Just like her gambling addict father in her past life, who always played the emotional card. Their ultimate goal was always for their own benefit. She didn't want to be hurt and tormented again. Now, she had the Duke by her side. Just as the Duke said, they would become a family. In this world, there was someone who truly cared for her. She then decisively pulled her hand back. I'm sorry, I cannot agree with your Majesty's words, because I know there's another person who truly loves me. Only at this moment did the girl finally understand. The Duke was the person she wanted to be with forever. She didn't hesitate in the face of the Emperor's threats. However, the Emperor didn't take Mel's words seriously, thinking she was just throwing a tantrum. Mel really didn't want to talk to the Emperor any longer. Just as she was in a dilemma, there was a commotion outside. Then, the Duke burst in frantically. Mel was instantly confused. How did the Duke know she was here? What are you doing here? I've been looking for you for a long time. Mel thought this was the perfect opportunity to show the Emperor their relationship. She immediately linked arms with the Duke. I was just about to go back and find you. The Duke's mind instantly exploded. Their intimate conversation aroused the Emperor's dissatisfaction. Didn't you see me here when you came in? The Duke looked towards the Emperor. My apologies, but what I saw was you crudely dragging away my fiancée with your own hands. Are you trying to destroy the harmonious relationship between the ducal house and the imperial family that has been passed down for generations? I hope something like this doesn't happen a second time. Then, he put his arm around Mel and turned to leave, leaving behind a vexed Emperor. Just like that, Mel got into the carriage the Duke had prepared, but she was constantly thinking, what did the original owner want? Perhaps it would become a hidden danger in the future. At that moment, the Duke's hand suddenly touched Mel's cheek. Why is there something stuck to your face? He then asked Mel what she had talked about with the Emperor. Next time he bothers you, just kill him. I'll take care of the rest. Mel didn't expect the Duke would go against the imperial family for her sake. Why would you do so much for me? Of course, it's because you're my wife, but we're just contract spouses for a year. Contract spouses are still spouses. I will continue to love my wife until the contract ends. Mel's cheeks burned after hearing this. How did you know I was in the palace? The Duke pointed to the necklace he gave her last time. I had a feeling something dirty was coming for you. Mel looked down at the necklace on her neck. It seemed the Duke's ring inside it had alerted him. Your maid told me everything that happened. I didn't expect the Emperor to be that shadow magician. I've been looking for him for a long time. Mel couldn't help but think of the original plot. Although the Duke eventually found out the identity of the black magician, he didn't continue the investigation. A long time ago, the ducal family made a deal with the imperial family. This allowed the imperial family to solidify their position. However, it was never stated what payment the imperial family made. Perhaps the Duke knew what it was. Soon, Mel arrived at her residence and thanked the Duke for his help today. You don't need to say such things for such a trivial matter, because we are husband and wife. But his heart still pounded because Mel had called him by his name. Meanwhile, The Emperor still couldn't believe the reality. He had always thought the two were just in a contract marriage. The Duke's recent panicked appearance showed that he was truly in love. The Emperor then smiled wickedly. This is even better. I can use Mel to gain more. No one could believe it. The most powerful magician in the Empire was actually jealous over a batch of cookies. After the last incident, Mel had been wanting to thank the Duke. Coincidentally, she was making cookies for Yata today, so she prepared some extra to send over. But the molds the maid brought today were heart-shaped. She could only hope the Duke wouldn't overthink it. A moment later, Mel packed the cookies and arrived at the Duke's mansion. She explained to the guards that she wanted to give the Duke a surprise, hoping they wouldn't announce her. Who knew that as soon as she walked in, she ran into Lug. Ross also arrived soon after. Mel thought that since there were many cookies, she wanted to share some with the knights for them to try. Ross was very happy. I love sweets the most, but because His Highness doesn't like them, we rarely eat them. Hearing this, Mel was stunned. The Duke didn't like sweets. Lug added from the side, it's not that he doesn't like them, he practically hates them. So Mel handed all the remaining cookies to Ross. Since the Duke doesn't like sweets, please take this as a gift for everyone. It seems she would have to think of another gift. The Duke only came out after Mel had left. He had just sensed Mel's arrival and came looking for her. He didn't expect her to leave so quickly. He regretted not coming out sooner. Just then, Ross ran over happily, holding a basket of cookies. He excitedly said, "Mel is amazing. I've never had such delicious cookies," completely oblivious to the fact that his master's face had already darkened. He looked up and saw the Duke gritting his teeth. "Are those the cookies Mel gave you? You should be full of energy after eating these cookies. It seems next week's training schedule needs to be intensified." Ross was now filled with immense regret. Why did he have to come and show off? Lug also complained about how he had suddenly lost his mind. The Duke, behind the two of them, thought of a way to make Mel stay. On the other side, it was a cozy afternoon tea time. Yata obediently tasted the heart-shaped cookies his mother made. Suddenly remembering something, he looked up. "Mom, a few days ago, a maid read me a fairy tale. It was about a witch who fattened up her child and then ate him." Mel was instantly amused. "Do you think I'll eat you if you get fat? I would never eat such an adorable son. You're so cute and sensible. You will definitely grow up to be an outstanding adult, bravely fighting against evil." In the original story, Yata was always troubled by his appearance. Now, she wouldn't let that happen. Children should eat well and grow up on schedule. Yata was very moved after hearing this. He promised to protect his mother. Mom's sudden big change is all because of Dad's death. I hope Mom doesn't have to suffer anymore. I will always protect you. Mel could feel Yata's growth. Mom will always protect you too. At night, Mel was in her room organizing recent events. She also needed to make a plan to change Yata's guardianship. Just then, the necklace from the Duke suddenly vibrated. Mel immediately stood up. The fluctuation of the ring meant the Duke was nearby. Sure enough, the next second, the puppy Duke opened the door and came in. The little puppy Duke, having not gotten any cookies, went to his fiancée to act pitiful. He said pitifully, "When I went to look for you, I found you had already left. You didn't even come to see me, and you even left delicious cookies for the knights." This bout of pitiful complaining stunned Mel. She had clearly given them away only after learning the Duke didn't eat sweets. But the Duke continued his complaint. "I was even made fun of by Lug and the others because of it. His Highness is the only one who didn't get to eat Miss Mel's cookies." Mel quickly explained, "I heard you hate sweets the most." Who knew the Duke would haughtily state that he didn't dislike them at all. "If you feel guilty, then give me a hug." Mel decisively rejected his matter-of-fact tone. "This time it was because I didn't know. If I make a mistake next time, I will apologize on my own initiative." Then, Mel brought up the matter of making Haley the head of the family. Who knew the Duke would become even more unhappy? His wife was actually talking about business while he was feeling wronged. "This time, I'm really hurt." Mel ignored his pouting and continued to talk about the magic mine. "I also negotiated with my former mother-in-law to trade the visitation rights to the Nixon Kingdom for the magic stone mine you recently found." The Duke was surprised. "An insignificant coal mine in exchange for visitation rights?" "Yes," and she was very happy. She didn't even look at the terms of the contract. The Duke couldn't help but feel proud of how capable his wife was. "Ever since I've been with you, everything has become simpler. This makes me want to be with you even more." However, to Mel, the Duke's sweet words sounded like he found her very useful. The Duke wanted to continue receiving her help. But if that was the case, then there was no point in him being sad about work. Just then, the Duke spoke. "Then if I give you the mine, what will you give me?" Faced with the Duke's sudden approach, Mel's face flushed and her heart pounded. Her current feelings for the Duke were strange. But in the original story, the Duke never fell in love with any woman. She should give up on such unrealistic thoughts. Perhaps the Duke was just fulfilling the contract. After hesitating, she still agreed to bake more cookies for the Duke. The puppy Duke gladly accepted. A few days later, Mel visited again with the baked cookies, but she was told that the Duke had found a clue about the shadows. Mel immediately thought of the original story. After the Duke discovered that the controller of the shadows was the Emperor, he stopped the investigation. Now, things had deviated from the original story. The information she knew was useless. Perhaps because of this, the Duke would lose interest in her next. But it was clearly just a transaction. Why did she still feel a little sad? Since the Duke isn't here, can I practice with you all? Lug immediately said he was the best at teaching. This remark drew Sizit's dissatisfaction. He immediately drew his gun to shoot. Lug put on a fawning expression, but backhanded Sizit's attack. Your attack style is still so simple. It's always a straight shot. His smug look made Sizit even more annoyed. See, shooting like this can make your ring small. But Mel didn't want to learn how to aim. Then she heard Lug suggest a competition between her and Sizit. The winner could ask for one condition. This was exactly what Mel wanted. If she won, she could have Sizit teach Yata. Lug immediately got some popcorn and stepped aside. The man always appeared suddenly to give his wife a surprise. Under Lug's direction, the two began their competition. The goal was to see who could find more rings. Mel immediately went to the woods to search. She felt her chances of winning were slim. Sizit could use the rings skillfully, and he was also more familiar with the terrain of the training ground. Even so, Mel didn't plan to give up, so she searched more diligently and unexpectedly walked to a warehouse. Thinking a ring might be inside, she went in. Unexpectedly, it was covered in dust. It looked like it hadn't been used in a long time. Fortunately, she did find a ring inside, but she also saw something unexpected. In a corner, a shadow was hovering. Mel realized that a spy had infiltrated the Duke's house, but there was no plot about a spy in the original story. She thought she must tell the Duke when he returned. Just then, the hovering ring suddenly flew out the door. So Mel followed it and ran out, discovering the shadow was absorbing the ring Lug had thrown. Seeing this, Mel immediately aimed at the ring, just as she was thinking that finding one more would win her the match. She was suddenly pulled into a warm embrace. Mel was startled. She didn't expect the Duke to appear so suddenly. Mel told him what she had just discovered. The Duke then told Mel not to touch any shadows she encounters in the future. Mel was surprised that the Duke didn't seem worried at all. Maybe he already knew about this. She then told him about her bet with Sizit. The Duke immediately promised to help Mel win. I know where another ring is. Over there. What is that place? The Duke told her it was the underground warehouse. It was said to store the family's heirlooms. Anyway, we're going to be family. There's nothing you can't see. Mel didn't expect that heirlooms could be seen just like that. She suggested they look for the ring first. Who knew the Duke didn't care at all. He even hoped Sizit would be late in finding this place. He smiled and pushed open the door in front of them. This is the family's treasure, passed down through generations. Everyone only knows it as a gift from the imperial family. It's actually a magical artifact. The rings of the family's ancestors are all locked inside. Ever since the empire was founded, the imperial family has feared our family's rings. They gathered ordinary people who discovered rings and formed a Knight Order. However, the entire Knight Order was helpless against the ducal family, so the imperial family placed a restriction on them, locking the ancestors' rings inside. If anyone covets the throne based on the family's bloodline, they will be cursed. But I didn't put my ring inside. Although many people objected, they were no match for my power. Mel remembered that in the original story, nothing happened after Yata became emperor. Perhaps it was because he wasn't of the Duke's bloodline. At this moment, the Duke proposed that in exchange for helping her find Lug's ring, Mel had to play with him like a little puppy. The Duke didn't expect to be rejected again. Mel explained that she was going on a picnic with Yata tomorrow and had many things to prepare when she got back today. After hearing this, the Duke immediately swept away his unhappiness. Then I'll help you find the ring, and you let me join tomorrow's picnic. Mel didn't expect the Duke to suggest going with them, but this was also a good opportunity for him to get closer to Yata. So she agreed. Then I'll be too excited to sleep tonight. But if you win, What's the bet with Sizit? It's a wish. When I first learned about Sizit, I wanted to make a wish. I hope nothing unexpected happens on our family of three's first outing. At the Duke's request, Mel agreed to let him join the picnic. The little one was especially excited on his first outing. Mom, this place is so cool. It's my first time in such a beautiful place. The Duke had also arranged for a boat to go boating on the lake. Yata was full of anticipation upon hearing this. Then let's go boating together. After getting on the boat, the little one kept leaning over the side. Look at the sunlight on the lake. It's so beautiful. Seeing how much her son liked it, Mel thought about taking him out more often in the future. Unexpectedly, the little one's eyes changed as he looked at the lake surface. He just stared blankly at the lake without speaking. Mel also noticed that something seemed wrong with Yata. The next second, the little one actually lunged towards the water. Fortunately, the Duke was quick-eyed and swift-handed, catching him in time. But the little one's expression was still natural, saying that something was floating in the lake and he wanted to catch it. But that's too dangerous. What if you fall? The little one apologized profusely. Then he fainted directly into Mel's arms. The Duke checked and found nothing wrong. But to be safe, the two decided to go back and find a doctor. They soon arrived at the Duke's mansion. The doctor's diagnosis also found no problems. He explained that the reason he hadn't woken up yet was because he was sound asleep and would wake up in a while. But facing the Duke's death glare, the doctor was still scared into a cold sweat. But he really couldn't see anything wrong. The Duke had no choice but to let the doctor leave. Mel, however, was still very worried. Yata's condition looked as if he had been possessed by something. The Duke could only comfort Mel and tell her to wait patiently. Perhaps Yata would wake up soon. He then handed Mel an envelope. This is a letter for you. I was keeping it for a while. Mel took it and saw that the recipient was indeed her. The contents of the letter were also strange. This guy is even worse than the last one. You deserve better. That is meaningless. So please don't die. Mel was very puzzled. This person seemed to have a good relationship with the original owner. The Duke, standing by, curiously asked what the contents were. Mel thought about it and decided not to say. But the more she hid it, the more curious the Duke became. Helpless, she had a hand over the envelope. I hope you won't be angry because of this. After reading it, the Duke was silent for a long time. Then he burst out laughing. Although I don't know who it is, his judgment of people is quite accurate. I also can't believe that I am indeed not as good as you. This makes me even more eager to announce our wedding. After all, I found such a good wife. Mel quickly turned her head away in embarrassment. The Duke seemed very optimistic about this marriage. Perhaps after the one-year contract ends, they will still get married. At this moment, the little one on the bed showed signs of waking up. Both of their gazes turned to Yata. The little one slowly opened his eyes. But then he screamed as if frightened by something. He immediately curled into a ball, shouting, "Mom, I was wrong, Mom, I was wrong. I'm sorry, Mom. I apologize to you." The son suddenly lost his memory, making the woman give up her fiancé once again. Seeing Yata's panicked state, the Duke quickly stepped forward to comfort him, asking if the little one remembered him. Sure enough, Yata looked at the Duke with a blank expression. Only then did Mel realize the child had really lost his memory. Fortunately, the doctor said this situation was only temporary. But for Mel, it was a significant blow. A long time ago, Yata was like this when he saw her. She originally thought everything was in the past. It seems the child's heart is still traumatized. Mel once again strengthened her resolve regarding the contract. It would be best to leave after a year of marriage. She should also control her heart. Only then can she properly say goodbye to the Duke. Sure enough, a few days later, he recovered his memory and also forgot that he had amnesia. However, Mo was still very worried. Her sorrowful look was so obvious that even Haley, who was opposite her, could see it. "My lady, is something troubling you? This is the first time I've seen a bride unhappy before her wedding. Did you have a fight with the Duke?" Mel didn't expect Haley to be so concerned about her. In the original story, she wasn't such a friendly person. She thought that she wouldn't fight with the Duke within a year. This is just a business relationship that will last for 1 year. So she told Haley that she was worried about her son. Haley immediately showed her concern for Yata. "Thank you for your concern. The child has recovered now. Let's get back to the topic. This is an outline of my future plans. Then let's start with the most important thing. The interior of Siren needs large-scale personnel measures. But Siren is a conservative place. There will definitely be opposition. Compared to Haley's hesitation, Mel was very firm. Only by doing this can you secure your position in the family. Look, this is the Crab Alliance, centered around Dawson. Haley picked it up and found that it was not only real, but also very detailed. Some of it was even confidential internal information. Of course, she knew all this thanks to the novel. So, is there anything I need to do for you now? Mel took out a document. During the investigation, I was shocked when I first saw this person. I only felt he was very suspicious, but I didn't expect him to be connected to the Siren family. It's Baron Blake, whom we met at the last banquet. The investigation says he is Dawson's confidant, but I can't recall this part of the plot at all. However, Haley didn't meet him at the banquet. If Haley doesn't have any information, she still needs to keep a close eye on Blake, because the information from the investigation states that Dawson trusts Blake very much, but it's impossible for them to be connected for no reason. There must be a deal between them that others don't know about. It's still not clear why they are in contact. Haley also doesn't know what makes Blake so important. As far as I know, Blake is very polite and well-connected. He also often attends social parties. Mel didn't expect the outside world's evaluation of Blake to be like this. But the last banquet, he was very rude to her. Haley even doubted Mel's words, thinking she had mistaken the person. Mel clearly remembered that the man was wearing the Blake family crest. His face was also identical to the portrait from the investigation. He seemed very familiar from the first time she saw him. What kind of secret is Baron Blake hiding? The tough Duke is even jealous of his own mother. He wants his wife to smile only at him. At Mel's request, Haley confidently accepted the task of investigating Baron Blake. Once this matter is over, she can leave this city in peace. Just then, a maid walked towards them, her face looking very pale. Mel asked fearfully what had happened. The maid explained Yata's situation. He was now staying in his room, refusing to eat or drink. So Mel decided to bring some desserts and visit her son personally. Ever since that incident with the hanging pot, Yata had become different from before. She didn't want to get too involved with him. After all, she would have to leave in the end. But the one who bullied Yata was the original character. Why should she have to bear the pain of losing her son? She could only leave Yata with some good memories before she leaves. Upon entering the room, she saw Yata lying on the bed. She immediately took out his favorite dessert, but Yata showed no reaction upon seeing it. Instead, he asked Mel what happened on the day of the boat trip. Why did I fall into the lake? The memories after that are completely gone. Mel remembered what the doctor said. It was best to hide the truth from the child. She didn't expect Yata to realize something was wrong. She had to make an excuse, saying he was frightened, but Yata was still skeptical. Looking at his mother, the image of being scolded would appear in his mind. But the mother in his mind and the one now were like two different people. Not knowing the reason, he could only silently accept the cookie. The next day, Mel took a carriage early in the morning to an appointment. Unexpectedly, she was a step too late. Her soon-to-be mother-in-law, Camelin, was already waiting at the door. I ordered some clothes for you. That's why I asked you to come. This is one of them. Mel was instantly dumbfounded. Camelin, on the side, answered affirmatively. That's right. This is your wedding dress. Mel didn't expect her mother-in-law to have even prepared this. She and the Duke only had a one-year contract marriage. She shouldn't be enjoying this kind of treatment. But in her heart, she didn't want to refuse Camelin. Having no mother in her previous life, she actually longed for motherly love. Camelin came forward again and took Mel's hand, wanting to take her to try on other dresses first. Mel didn't expect there to be more. For a mother with only one son, the greatest wish is to buy many dresses for a daughter. I want to treat you as my daughter. Mel was instantly moved. She had never experienced this kind of family affection in her previous life. Just then, a male voice interrupted their warm moment. This scene makes me can't help but be jealous. I hope you can smile at me like that too. The Duke finally snatched his wife away from his mother. They finally had a moment alone. Camelin stared speechlessly at her son, questioning why he had to interrupt their mother-daughter date. If you're so free, why don't you spend some time with your son? Besides, I can see you're very happy to see me too. Camelin was even more speechless. I think you should get your eyes checked when you have time. Mel watched the mother and son's conversation from the side. The next second, the Duke came and sat down beside her. I came here because I couldn't find you at your residence. Now, comfort me quickly. I was just scolded by my mother. Camelin, on the side, told Mel not to coddle him. If he's spoiled, he'll become unrestrained. But I'm still very happy that you two are getting married. He used to proclaim that he was against marriage. I'm very curious about what happened, but I'm happy that he has found someone to love for a lifetime. And such a beautiful girl at that. After hearing these words, Mel felt very guilty. She was clearly leaving after a year, yet she was deceiving Camelin like this. She turned her head and saw the smiling Duke. She was immediately pulled into a warm embrace. I promise I will spend my whole life with Mel. After getting the assurance, Camelin planned to pull Mel away again to try on dresses. If you have nothing to do, you can leave first. We're still busy. The Duke noticed the concern in Mel's heart, so he spoke up to help Mel politely decline, using the excuse that she has been very busy lately. Mel buried her head in thought. There were indeed many things that needed to be resolved. Camelin was very considerate of her daughter-in-law. Hearing that she was busy lately, she told Mel not to go out of her way to cooperate. She would arrange everything for the wedding later. You don't have to worry about anything. Leave it all to me. The Duke also quickly pulled up the stun Mel. He whispered in her ear, "Let's go somewhere where it's just the two of us and we won't be disturbed." Mel thought the Duke would take her home, but unexpectedly, the carriage went in the opposite direction. "I want to take you somewhere. You will definitely like it." Mel curiously asked if they were going to chocolate shop. This reminds me of the king who loved chocolate. A long time ago, there was a king who loved chocolate so much that he built a castle out of it. But he overlooked one thing. The castle would melt when the sun was scorching. So the king died, buried in his chocolate palace. That's the story. He loved chocolate so much, he was happy even to die with it. I feel I'm very much like him. Even though I know I have to leave after a year, I can't help but want to see you. Just then, the Duke said that he could also understand the king's feelings. For the king, his greatest love was chocolate. Just like you're my greatest love. Dying in the arms of the one you love sounds very happy. Do you want a real marriage? Not just a one-year contract marriage. Mel realized the Duke genuinely liked her. But then she felt it couldn't be real. To the Duke, she was just someone with usable value. Seeing that Mel hadn't spoken for a long time, the Duke immediately changed the subject. "I think we've arrived. You can get out of the carriage now. I'm sure you'll like it." The Duke can't wait to be a father. Mel got out of the carriage and found that it was a high-end salon. She thought the Duke had some business to attend to. However, the Duke just gave a mysterious smile. "You'll know when you go inside." Mel had no choice but to follow him in. But in her eyes, it was just an ordinary salon. But there must be a reason why the Duke brought her here. "I guess you've already prepared something, haven't you?" Then, the clerk brought over a box. Inside were exquisite clothes. The size was obviously not for her. "Is this for Yata?" Unexpectedly, she received an affirmative answer from the Duke. "Of course our son has to attend the wedding." Mel was very moved and believed that the Duke would be a good guardian in the future. "Thank you. Yata will be very happy if he knows." "Can't be helped, my wife is so busy. I have to take care of all these things." Mel smiled and said she couldn't wait to wear them. The Duke quickly chimed in. "In that case, we have to get married quickly." The smiling Mel immediately blushed with shyness. "If the size isn't right, remember to tell me. Now let's go somewhere else." He didn't forget to instruct the clerk to send the clothes to Mel's mansion. Just as they walked outside, she saw a familiar figure. It was Baron Blake, whom she had been wanting to investigate. The Duke followed Mel's gaze. He suddenly frowned, and his eyes turned icy. "That's Baron Blake, right? I saw him at a party before. Why have you been staring at him from the beginning?" Mel quickly retorted, "Don't say things like that." At this moment, the Baron walking ahead suddenly turned a corner. Mel felt it was necessary to follow. She grabbed the Duke's arm. "Let's go first. I'll explain to you later." Apparently, the Duke enjoyed having his arm held. "All right, although this is my first time tailing someone, I'll do my best." Just like that, the two of them followed the Baron all the way. The Duke was like a curious baby, asking questions constantly until the Baron went through a door. The Duke asked Mel if they should continue following like this. The risk might be high. Mel thought it would be a pity to give up after following him all this way. "Why don't we look around for some clues?" The Duke discovered a strange thing about this building. Its lowest floor had no windows. He guessed that something important might be hidden there. So he summoned a ring, wanting to investigate. In the end, there was nothing to be found. "Why do you think that person is suspicious?" Mel explained that during the previous investigation, she suspected he had a deal with Dawson. But even Haley didn't know about this. After hearing this, the Duke was silent for a moment, then decided it was best for them to go back first. "If we continue to stay here, there's a risk of being caught. I'll send people to investigate this building later." Mel agreed with this idea. After all, she had taken up too much of the Duke's time. It is indeed a bit late. I don't think we have time to go to our original destination now, but it's okay. We still have many opportunities. So the two of them set off for home. That night, a person in black came to the Duke's mansion. I heard you're getting married. I'm here to congratulate you. I don't understand why you would marry her. Don't you know about Mel's past? With Mel's companionship, the little one finally reconciled with his mother. After making no progress in investigating the Baron, a dejected Mel returned home, only to be nervously called out to by Yata. It turned out the child hadn't slept and was waiting for her to come home. She thought of his pitiful inquiry about his lost memories. After that, she hadn't gone to see her son again. I guess you have something to say. Why don't we go to your bedroom? But Yata shook his head in a fluster. He hesitated, then said he wanted Mel to go to the playroom with him. Only then did Mel remember what she had instructed the maids to prepare. She guessed it was ready now, and Yata wanted to show her. Sure enough, after she agreed, her son was overjoyed. As soon as they entered, they saw a dazzling array of toys and books. It seemed the maids had followed her instructions well. Seeing the little one's expression, he was also very satisfied with this place. If she had known he would like it, she would have arranged it sooner. It's almost bedtime now. How about I read you a book? Then, Mel went to the bookshelf to choose carefully. She finally chose a book about small animals. She also asked Yata how he had been feeling lately. Ever since I fell into the lake, I can't remember anything. If you feel any pain or discomfort, you must tell Mom. Yata nodded at his mother, but his vision suddenly blurred. Mel noticed Yata's abnormality and quickly asked. The little one thought for a moment and decided to confess to his mother. Ever since I found something in the lake last time, I've been feeling strange. I always feel like throwing up. Mel was instantly frightened upon hearing this. She quickly began to question her son thoroughly. Did you eat something bad? Or did you not sleep well? Do you feel like you have a fever now? And what did you find in the lake? Should we call a doctor to check? Yata quickly explained that this only happens occasionally, so Mom doesn't need to worry too much. The doctor also said last time that my memory will slowly recover. Mel didn't expect her son to be so sensible. She was the one who should be worrying about the child. She wanted even more to help him before she left. This way, Yata could live an ordinary, comfortable life in the future. So she proposed doing something more interesting than reading a fairy tale. The little one's small head was full of question marks. Mel's only skill now was being able to shoot out rings with a gun. She took out the gun and showed her son. Yata saw the glittering golden ring and shouted excitedly, "So beautiful." In the future, our Yata will also be able to create such beautiful stars. She hoped to enlighten her son as soon as possible, so he could create his first ring faster. The next day, Mel was handling official business when a maid walked in with a letter. Mel had been busy with various things lately, wanting to quickly make Yata the head of the family. She also didn't know if the Duke had found any clues about that building. Suddenly, she saw the letter the maid had just brought in, but there was no signature on it. Who could have sent it? On the other side, the Duke was lost in thought while looking at Mel's file. How should this matter be handled? The love-struck Duke, as expected, would not question his wife. Mel picked up the letter on the table to examine it. The person in the letter asked to meet Mel in a week. From the content of the letter, the two seemed to meet often. Perhaps he knew about the original owner's situation. Then the fact that she wasn't the original owner would soon be exposed. But she had to meet at least once to find out who the other person was. Before that, Mel still wanted to inform the Duke, who knew that just as she finished her work, she saw the Duke sitting leisurely in the drawing room. Mel wondered why the maid hadn't informed her. But from his expression, she knew he must have coaxed the maid, so she didn't press the maid about it. The Duke, seeing Mel sit down, eagerly said, "I wanted to see you." Mel was speechless. If she had known this would happen, she wouldn't have written a letter. "Did you come here because you found news about that building?" She received a negative answer from the Duke. "I think we're getting married soon, but I still know nothing about you. Can you tell me about yourself? Hobbies or tastes? I want to know everything about you." Mel didn't expect the Duke to suddenly ask these things. Was he worried about things after the marriage? But she herself didn't know much about the original owner. "If there was really something, I would have told you long ago." But the Duke raised a question. "In our marriage conditions, there's a clause that Yata must become the heir. Why is there this rule?" "That's because I want Yata to be happy. Yata's biological father doesn't care about him. He's always fooling around outside, leaving the child locked up at home alone. So I want to find a good father for him." The Duke looked at Mel, who was so considerate of her child. He thought of that day when his friend said Mel had killed her husband with her own hands and even provided solid evidence. But seeing Mel's expression, he still didn't believe it. Besides, Yata isn't her biological son, and the phrase choosing me as a father sounds even better than he imagined. Why do you think I would be a good father? Mel didn't hide it and stated the reason directly. I feel that your family has the ability to protect Yata. Actually, in the original story, the Duke was not a good father. Yata was just a useful tool to him. This also led to Yata, who had never felt love, becoming a tyrant who couldn't heal himself. But from their current interactions, the Duke is much better than she imagined. They will surely become a very good family in the future. It was also the first time the Duke had been praised like this. The nobles had always feared the Duke, thinking he looked like a monster. He was interested in Mel because of her fearlessness. She was the only one who approached him without any hesitation. The current Duke has been completely brainwashed by his own thoughts. He doesn't even care if Mel is really a murderer. Just the thought of spending the rest of his life with her makes him happy. Just like that, the two chatted for a while. Mel suggested that the Duke teach Yata how to use the ring. The Duke awkwardly stated that he wasn't good at teaching people. Yata seems to already know how to use the ring now, but he hasn't made one yet. I can't tell the Duke. In the book, Yata only has one ring. Maybe it's a woman's intuition, but I think Yata had a lot of potential. After these words were spoken, the scene was awkward for a few seconds. Mel quickly tried to find a way out, not wanting the Duke to show Yata the rings. He then called the child over. Showing off his power in front of his wife was simply an effortless task. The Duke effortlessly summoned countless rings. But Yata, who had been watching excitedly just a moment ago, suddenly had his expression change drastically. Faced with the child's abnormal state, Mel was also at a loss. The little one had fallen ill once again. She blamed herself, thinking it was all her fault. "I'm sorry. It's all because of me." Seeing Yata start to blame himself again, she immediately stopped him. "Didn't you promise me you wouldn't say things like that? It's just a little dizziness. You haven't done anything to be sorry for." After hearing his mother's words, Yata smiled with relief. Later, as the two strolled through the courtyard, the Duke noticed the swing inside. "That's the one you said you wanted to move over last time, right?" "That's right. It's the swing Yata likes." "I see. It would be great if we could move it over sooner." Mel found this strange and asked with confusion, "Why?" Unexpectedly, the Duke said bluntly, "Of course, it's because I want you to move into my home sooner." Mel was stunned for a moment. She immediately changed the subject. "That building Baron Blake went in the last time, what is it used for?" The Duke pouted in dissatisfaction. "It's just an abandoned building. The registration information lists it as a private residence, but it's currently unclear who the owner is. The person behind the scenes is also intentionally hiding it." Mel guessed there must be some secret inside. As expected, she still needed to invite Doug to find out more. Mel, lost in thought, didn't hear the Duke calling her at all until her cheek was suddenly poked. Only then did Mel snap out of it. Just as she was about to bring up the matter concerning Doug, the Duke started to get jealous again. "Don't think about other people. I'm the one by your side right now." Mel was instantly teased until her face turned red. Yet she still forced herself to stay rational and clear-headed. "There's something else I'm very curious about. You even sent me a love letter. I'll write you back on nice stationery when I get home. I didn't expect you to have such a romantic side." "Just a side? What am I like in your eyes?" Mel thought of the cold-blooded and ruthless description in the original novel, which was completely different from the living person beside her now. Suddenly, she smiled faintly. "Come to think of it, you've always seemed very romantic in front of me." Chatting idly, the two arrived in front of the swing. The Duke suggested Mel sit on it, and he would push. But Mel hesitated, saying she was a little scared. Only then did the Duke realize he knew nothing about Mel's preferences. "Is there anything you want to tell me? For example, your hobbies or preferences, or things about you that I must know?" Mel had no choice but to tell a story from her childhood. "Once I was playing on the swing when my father suddenly came and pulled my hair, dragging me away. I just can't forget that moment. It's not that I'm afraid of the swing itself." Mel told a small lie. In the original novel, the cause of Mel's family's death was unknown. It should be fine to say this, right? Mel didn't know that this had already planted a seed of doubt in the Duke. He had investigated and found that Mel was sent to an orphanage at birth, and the director was also a woman. So who was this father Mel spoke of? Meanwhile, Mel went to her appointment with the person from the letter, seeing only a blue-haired woman sitting in the restaurant. She hesitantly sat at another table. Unexpectedly, the woman suddenly stood up, bowed with a beaming smile, and said, "It's been a long time. Sister, why didn't you greet me? You even pretended not to know me. Didn't we agree not to keep our distance?" Now Mel was even more confused. Before she had time to think, the blue-haired woman threw out another question. "Sister, Why haven't you been wearing the earrings I gave you recently? You used to wear them all the time for a while. Mel thought of those earrings, wondering why Edith would give them to her. Did she gain some benefit from it? Was the person who sent the cards really her? As she thought this, she heard Edith say, "Did you ever think the person who sent the cards would be me?" The Duke had encountered another major love rival. Looking at the fangirl like Edith before her, Mel was still a bit suspicious. "Why did you ask me out? Is it because you gave me gifts, so now you want something in return?" Edith quickly waved her hands to prove her point. "All those gifts were sincerely from my heart to you, sister." Then, "Miss Edith, do you know how many cards you've sent me during this time?" I remember. To be precise, it was 23 times. And 8 gifts." Looking at the excited Edith, Mel felt a wave of headache. However, the original owner had kept all her gifts carefully. Did this mean the original owner also valued her? After answering, Edith's eyes became even more like a fangirl's. "So, did you guess it was me?" "I didn't guess. But why did you send me gifts?" "At first, I sent them simply because I liked you, sister. But now, I want to become your person. You've been seeing Haley a lot recently, right? It seems you have some kind of deal. Although I was very curious, I didn't ask around. I wanted to ask you directly, sister, so I've been holding back." Mel didn't expect Edith to know even about this. However, her coming to gather information should be a great help. "If you want to help me, I will tell you everything." Instantly, Edith's eyes sparkled. At this moment, a maid brought over milk. Mel was even more puzzled. Even the Emperor thought she loved tea, yet Edith knew her favorite was milk. It seemed she still needed to be careful. After leaving the restaurant, Mel's steps became heavy. Love was already waiting at the door. "Let me escort you from here." Just as Mel was about to get into the carriage, she saw Sizit walking over from ahead. After the two spoke for a moment, Lug hurriedly came to say goodbye. "I have something to attend to, so I have to go first. This guy will escort you for me." Before leaving, he didn't forget to lean on the window and remind her, "Miss Mel, if you need an escort next time, you must call me." Just as Lug was acting cute, Sizit decisively closed the carriage door. As the carriage moved, Mel realized this wasn't the way back. "Where are we going now, Sizit?" Sizit clearly didn't expect Mel to ask this question. "Did that guy Lug not tell you anything just now? Lady Camelin wants to see you. I'm sorry for not informing you in advance." "So that's it. The lady must have a reason for wanting to see me. Is Lug in such a hurry to go find the commander?" Sizit explained that he was going to conduct a search. Although he didn't say explicitly, Mel knew they must have found something. Seeing Sizit's dedication to the investigation, she comforted him, telling him not to be too upset. Sizit was suddenly startled. Mel realized she might have been too forward. Because he was her favorite character from the original novel, she had comforted him subconsciously. Now it seemed a bit awkward, so she quickly changed the subject. "Did the Duke tell you? When I marry into the mansion, can I ask you to teach my son how to use the rings? Yata is very talented in this area, so I want to learn. It will also help the family in the future. I think you would be a very good teacher. You lost a bet to me before and owe me a wish, so I'm asking for this as a favor. If my lord agrees, then I have no problem. What's it like to have a perfect mother-in-law? Not only does she buy you clothes and jewelry whenever you want, but she's also always ready with surprise gifts." As soon as Mel arrived at the Duke's mansion, she received a big hug. The wedding preparations are almost complete. Now, let's confirm the final details. What do you think of the date I set? Mel looked at the list Camelin had prepared, not expecting the wedding to be so soon. Then Camelin took out another box. "This is my wedding gift to you." Mel hesitated, wondering if she should tell Camelin the truth that theirs was just a contract marriage. But she was always receiving expensive gifts from her. At this moment, Camelin urged her to open it quickly. Mel opened it and found a crystal ball with a sculpture of 3 people inside. "What do you think? My ring will protect you all, although I don't know if any danger will occur." She didn't expect it to contain Camelin's ring. "Thank you. I don't know how to express my gratitude. As long as you like it, you don't have to be so formal with me." In the evening, Mel said goodbye to Camelin and prepared to go home, but she saw the Duke in the carriage on her way back. Sizit dejectedly went to the carriage behind them. The Duke was curious about the box his wife-to-be was holding. "This is a wedding gift from Mother. She said if I put it in the bedroom, it can keep danger away." "Well, I'll be protecting the bedroom, so why don't you put this in Yata's room?" "That's a good idea. But are we going to share a room? We're a contract couple. A contract couple is still a couple, right?" Seeing Mel get shy, the Duke smiled even more smugly. But the trio on the other side wasn't so happy. Their mission had failed again today. Ross complained in dissatisfaction. Why is it always a waste of effort? Before he could say much, Ross and Lug started arguing again. Sizit, your vice commander is about to die, and you're not helping? This is between the commander and the vice commander. I can't interfere. If it weren't for Miss Mel being nearby, we would have been dead today. Lug strongly agreed with this. Miss Mel is so amazing. How did she turn our lord into this lovesick fool? I must thank her properly next time I see her. Hearing this, Sizit couldn't help but think of Mel's smile. Lug immediately interrupted him. Kid, what are you thinking about? I'm thinking, how many times has this mission failed? Is this acceptable? It failed again this time. Is this acceptable? Well, at least I'm better than the person who smashed the item we were supposed to retrieve into pieces. And so, the bickering between the two turned into a three-way brawl. Mel arrived at the mansion and said goodbye to the Duke. As soon as she got home, she saw the neatly dressed little one. This little guy was just too cute. Seeing his mother's surprised look, Yata thought it didn't look good. No, it suits you perfectly. Do you like this outfit? Little Yata was clearly very satisfied. The Duke gave it to you. Not me, what? Was it Father? It's a gift from Father. You have to thank him when you see him later. Beautiful women should build their careers together. Mel went to Haley's house and handed over the information on Edith. She might become our new partner. I'm going to see her today and sign a contract. But Haley was a bit hesitant. Although she's very famous in social circles, her personal information is completely hidden. Why don't we meet her first and then decide? Then how about right now? Just as she said that, Haley shouted, "Go for it." Mel was momentarily stunned. What's this development now? You said you were going to see Miss Edith. I'm cheering you on. Mel stood up helplessly. You're coming too. I'm actually a little curious how Miss Edith plans to make me the head of the family. As I recall, the Count's family has a good relationship with Dawson. I often see the Count meeting with Dawson privately. Haley's words made Mel suspicious of Edith's intentions. Could it be that she wants to get some information from him? We have to be on high alert today. The place we're going to next might be a dragon's pool and a tiger's den. With nervous hearts, the two arrived at Edith's house. They were greeted with a warm welcome as they entered. Sister, why did you take so long? I've been waiting for ages. It's a pleasure to meet you, Miss Haley. I'm Edith. Just as they sat down, Edith eagerly asked Mel if she had brought the contract. What neither of them expected was that she signed it directly without even looking at it. Miss Edith, do you really agree to Haley becoming the family head? Yes, but sister, there's something I'm curious about. Are you supporting Haley in your capacity as the Duchess? If that's the case, I have even less reason not to be on your side. Soon, I will become the head of the family. In that case, my opinion will be the opinion of the Nephili family. Then she started speaking like a fangirl again. I just want to help you because I like you, sister. Mel couldn't help but want to know why. Edith began to reminisce. At first, she was just dissatisfied hearing that the Viscount had such a beautiful wife. So I wrote a letter telling you, sister, that you could come to me for help with anything. Unexpectedly, after the Viscount's death, sister handled everything perfectly. From that moment on, I was completely captivated. After your personality changed, you became exactly my type. Hearing Edith's heartfelt confession, Mel couldn't help but blush and was also thankful that she liked the transmigrated version of herself. Next, Mel wanted Haley to meet the Duke, so they discussed holding a social gathering. Later, when Mel went to invite the Duke to attend, she learned something else. That is, they were getting married in 3 weeks. It was like a bolt from the blue for Mel. There were only 3 weeks left. She had been so busy with Haley's affairs recently that she had completely forgotten about her own wedding. A woman actually forgot her own wedding, and she only remembered after her fiancé reminded her. I've been so busy with Haley's affairs lately that I completely forgot about the wedding. I'm so hurt. You're so unconcerned about our wedding. You're probably the only bride who doesn't remember her wedding date. Seeing this situation, Mel frantically tried to explain. The Duke's expression clearly showed he was a little angry. I'm sorry. Of course, I'm looking forward to the wedding just as much as you are. I've just been too busy lately and haven't paid much attention. We're getting married in 3 weeks. It's a very auspicious date. She didn't expect the lovesick Duke to be so easy to placate. He immediately started planning where they should go for their honeymoon. How about we go to the seaside together? But Mel hesitated. Theirs was just a contract marriage. If they created too many beautiful memories, how sad would it be when they separated? She could only give the Duke a vague answer, saying they'd talk about it later. By the way, Mel, do you know about the bride and groom waiting in front of the guests? He said, stepping forward and pulling Mel into his arms. He whispered in her ear, I heard that the bride and groom just have to kiss. If it's not necessary, can we skip it? Given our relationship, wouldn't a kiss be very awkward? Unexpectedly, the Duke answered decisively, it can't be skipped. I heard it's the most important part of the wedding and cannot be skipped. But I have a good way to resolve the awkwardness, and that is for you to move into my mansion before the wedding. Although Mel didn't know if this would ease the awkwardness, she needed the Duke's help with the party. A few days later, both Mel and Yata moved into the Duke's mansion. The Duke also hired a private tutor for Yata. The party preparations were also progressing rapidly. I believe Yata will be able to release his ring soon. You seem very certain that he can release his ring. Mel was taken aback by the question. It was because it was written in the original plot that she could be so sure. It's as if you know the future. Mel didn't know if the Duke had noticed something. Could it be that his interest in her was also because of this? The Duke noticed Mel's expression and quickly said he was joking. Who could possibly know the future? At this moment, the two saw a letter from Haley on the table. They thought it would be a report on her expression management, but when they opened it, it was a complaint about Dawson. Mel felt very awkward, especially since the Duke was present. At the same time, the little one was hesitating at the door. The Duke sent someone outside the door. A small child is pacing in front of the door. Opening the door, he saw the little guy standing pitifully at the entrance. Yata, isn't it class time now? Why did you come here? Can you tell me why you're not in class? I can only help you if you tell me. Yata stammered and finally said it. I get scared whenever the teacher gets close to me. Whenever I see the teacher, I always think of my deceased father. In order to become the little one's teacher, Lug had used every trick in the book. When Yata stammered that he was reminded of his deceased father, Mel knew the little guy must be scared. In that case, it's better to change the teacher. The Duke also agreed. It seems we need to arrange a new tutor for Yata. Mel thought the Duke was talking about Sizit, but she didn't expect it to be Lug. His abilities are outstanding. You can trust him, but it doesn't have to be him. Other capable knights are also fine. He then asked Yata if he wanted to pick a teacher himself. Yata nodded expectantly. So the three of them went to the training ground together. It was Yata's first time seeing such a scene, and he found it very novel. Mom, they're so cool. Yata, which one do you like the most? Or rather, who looks the coolest? Hearing this, the little guy immediately turned to look at Mel. Mother looks the coolest and also the prettiest. After saying this, he shyly hid behind the Duke. The knights training nearby all noticed them. Lug also saw Yata. He instantly became proud. What do you think? I'm even more handsome up close, right? Do you want the handsome me to be your teacher? Lug's cool pose didn't even last 3 seconds before he was rejected by the little one. At this moment, Yata's gaze stopped on the other side. Sizit was sparring with someone. Do you like Sizit? Then I'll have Sizit teach you. Unexpectedly, after all the twists and turns, Sizit still became Yata's teacher. A few days later, it was time for Haley's social banquet. Mel and the Duke also attended in formal attire. As she got out of the carriage, she noticed the Duke's injured hand. She hadn't heard about him being injured recently. Seeing Mel freeze, the Duke casually said he got injured during training. Mel thought it was possible and didn't say anything more. The most important thing now was for Haley's party to end smoothly. On the way, the Duke suggested it would be better for them to walk hand in hand. We need to look more intimate. Mel naturally linked her arm with the Duke's. Their appearance in the banquet hall caused a heated discussion among everyone. Mel was also very satisfied with this effect. I'll go find Haley first. You can greet the other guests. Unexpectedly, the Duke whined. I want to go with you too. But he was rejected by Mel, who quickly ran towards Haley. Did you see the expressions everyone was giving me? It's the first time anyone has looked at me this way. I almost couldn't hide my excitement. You held it in well. It seems you need to practice properly. When she thought of Dawson, he didn't seem to have any unusual reaction. Then I'll go find Edith. We were just talking about you, madam. I heard you'll be marrying the Duke soon. That's right. The wedding is in 3 weeks. I hope everyone can come and give their blessings. Things were progressing well. It was about time to go back and find the Duke. Just as she said goodbye to Edith, she was stopped by a man from behind. Hello, madam. After saying that, he continued on his own. I can't call you madam now, because the real you isn't married yet. Just as Mel was about to ask what he meant, the man turned and walked away. The Duke got jealous again, just as Mel was about to chase after the departing man. She was stopped by the Duke. What's wrong? Did something happen? It's nothing. I just ran into a boy who wasn't on the invitation list. He walked outside, so I wanted to follow him. I see. I'll have Lug and Ross search the exterior. Then I'll go with you. In the original novel, Lug and Ross end up as a couple. If I go over rashly now, will I disturb them? As Mel was thinking, she saw the scene between the two of them ahead. It seems they still have a long way to go. The Duke asked if they had seen any suspicious people. Just an ordinary boy with brown hair and freckles on his face. Lug asked for a detailed description of his clothes. Mel didn't get a very good look at the time. It's not that important. You don't need to spend too much time on it. A moment later, Ross reported that they hadn't found anyone strange, but he couldn't have just vanished in a thin air. While thinking, she saw Dawson walk in. His eyes clearly glanced past Mel. This immediately aroused the Duke's dissatisfaction. Dawson just glanced at you. How dare he be so rude as to directly avert his gaze? Seeing the Duke about to lose his temper, Mel quickly stopped him. Please don't. I'll go have a brief chat with Dawson and be right back. After all, our goal is to get the mine back. I'll be right back. You can't just keep staring at me from a distance. Watching his wife's retreating back and recalling her instructions, the Duke was at a loss for what he could do. Meanwhile, Mel skillfully greeted the people next to Dawson. Seeing this, Dawson immediately came forward. I've heard so much about you. I didn't expect you to be as beautiful as the rumors say, madam. Mel politely shook his hand. Compared to Haley, Dawson was much better at hiding his emotions. May I have a word with you? I was hoping to find an opportunity to meet you, madam. It seems you had the same idea. Why don't we go somewhere quiet and have a more in-depth conversation? Mel knew Dawson wanted to bribe her. We're not on such intimate terms. This seems a bit foolish. I thought you were a cautious person. Hearing this, Dawson was clearly displeased. Then why did you approach me? Aren't you wavering between me and my sister? You truly have no eye for people. I have no intention of abandoning the wife I have. I was just curious if you intended to give up this game. But from the looks of it today, you don't seem to be giving up. It's a shame, but it seems things won't go as you wish. My sister, I'm afraid, will not be able to achieve her goal for this party today. And you, madam, will also learn how wrong your choice was. Mel hadn't expected Dawson to actually try to sabotage it. After saying this, Dawson left, not knowing what he was plotting. She knew she had to warn Haley to be careful. After learning of the conversation, both of them had grave expressions. After leaving, Mel planned to find the Duke, but she found that everyone was gone. Coincidentally, she spotted the figure of the freckled boy. Mel finally found the freckled boy. To stop Dawson's plan, she had to chase him. Unexpectedly, the garden was like a maze. Mel was completely lost in no time. But if she was lost, the boy might be lost too. She had to catch him before she lost him. A moment later, Mel heard another person's voice. She turned to see a hand reaching out from the bushes. The next second, she saw the freckled boy emerge from within. He subconsciously tried to run, but was grabbed by Mel. Who are you? Why do you know about me? You lured me here. Now answer me. Who told you about me? And how did you evade the night surveillance? The freckled boy violently shook off Mel's hand and turned to run again. But Mel directly pulled out a gun and aimed it at him. I don't want to hurt you, so talk to me. Why did you act like you knew my true identity in front of me? Who ordered you to do that? The boy hesitated. Even if you don't know these things, your life won't be affected. I just have to do as I'm told. Only then did Mel realize he was also being coerced. Was it Dawson who ordered you? It seems he has something very important in Dawson's hands. Are you afraid of losing what Dawson promised to give you? Dawson told me today's party would be ruined. You must have been given some kind of mission. Today's party must end successfully. So I'm giving you a choice. Help me, and I can help you escape from Dawson's grasp. Suddenly, the necklace the Duke gave her began to flash. The freckled boy immediately shoved Mel and ran away in a flash. Mel could only watch helplessly as he left. Just then, the Duke found her. I heard that Lug and Ross seemed to have found the boy, but they lost him along the way. Just as Mel was about to say she had seen him, the Duke noticed the wound on her hand. He immediately told Lug to get ointment and bandages for the wound. A wound like this will be fine after a night's sleep. There are more important things than this. No, to me, nothing is more important than you being hurt. So let's talk after it's treated. The Duke then treated Mel's wound. He then instructed, don't go to dangerous places alone anymore. In this situation, even the garden is dangerous. Because we found traces of a shadow in the mansion. We suspect that the boy you mentioned is the shadow. Otherwise, he couldn't have evaded our search. Mel guessed that Dawson planned to use the shadow to ruin the party. But the Duke is also at the banquet. How can he be so sure it will end in failure? We don't have any more time to stay here. The banquet she carefully prepared was still being ruined. After realizing this, Mel immediately pulled the Duke and prepared to head to the venue. On the way, she explained what she had just heard from the freckled boy. Dawson is planning to ruin this party. Just then, a sound came from ahead. Both of them had a bad feeling. It seems we're too late. As soon as the words were spoken, a huge explosion was heard from inside the door. Mel subconsciously started to go in. The Duke grabbed her hands. It's dangerous inside now. We don't know what happened. Mel trembled, almost in despair. But the people I invited are in there. Seeing she wasn't herself, the Duke quickly pulled her into his arms to comfort her. "It's okay. Nothing will happen while I'm here." He then signaled for the knights to go and check the situation. The knights led the way inside. Wolf follows safely behind. Ahead, Ross saw a fainted person. He's still breathing, but seems to be unconscious. It feels like someone intentionally left him alive. Then, Lub probed and found it was poison. This is a new development we've recently discovered. Poisons that hide their traces like this are constantly emerging. This wasn't in the original story. Mel didn't know why a new plot was unfolding. Could it be the Emperor's doing? Inside the banquet hall, it was chaos. Ross loudly maintained order. "We will guide everyone outside. Please follow me calmly." After entering, Mel anxiously searched for Haley. She must have run somewhere to take shelter. Is there a place to hide here? Mel thought of something and led the Duke there. Dawson's original plan was to lure her outside and then set off a bomb at the venue to ruin the party. But he wouldn't be that bold. Mel guessed the Emperor was controlling the situation from behind the scenes. The only one with the power to command Dawson and who appeared as a villain in the original story was the Emperor. After the two arrived, they pushed open the door and saw Haley collapsed on the floor. After a long while, Haley finally woke up. Mel watched her constantly trembling and asked what happened here. The Duke suggested, try injecting the aura of a ring into Haley's body. The aura of a ring is warm to ordinary people. It might help her calm down. With the Duke's help, Mel created a ring without using a gun as a medium and carefully approached Haley. But Haley looked terrified and quickly moved away. This reaction was exactly the same as when Yata saw the ring last time. Her body was rejecting the ring, just like Yata. If they have the same symptoms, they must have something in common. "Haley, I have a few questions for you. What happened before you fainted?" Haley then remembered what had just happened. Something suddenly fell on the ground, and she was about to pick it up. This was the same as what happened with the little one at the lake. It seems they really do have the same symptoms. And the force behind this incident is the mastermind who also tried to put Yata in danger. The young couple actually started showing affection in front of others. After seeing Haley's reaction to the ring, the Duke also had a rough guess. It's not just any ring that's causing her to have a rejection reaction, but your ring, Mel. When you saw Miss Haley's reaction just now, you also thought of Yata, didn't you? They both react to the first ring they come into contact with. Although this is just my speculation for now, it's highly likely because of the poison. Ordinary people usually don't have a rejection to a ring. On the contrary, they experience positive emotions. If there's a negative feedback, we can infer that it's caused by contact with a substance that opposes the ring. Poisoning. Mel was puzzled. How could Yata be poisoned inside the mansion? She immediately thought of that bottomless pit in the Duke's mansion. It seems he left poison in the mansion. Although it will be very uncomfortable for Yata, should we confirm it one more time to see if he really has a rejection to your ring? But the Duke disagreed. If we do that, Yata will vomit like last time. I don't want to see either of you in pain. Let's think of another way to confirm it. Mel didn't expect the Duke to be so considerate of Yata. Of course, Yata is our son. This sentence deeply moved Mel. Yes, he's our son. Thank you so much. The Duke, don't thank me like that next time. Instead of verbal thanks, you should express it with actions. As the atmosphere between the two gradually became ambiguous, a girl's voice interrupted them. "Excuse me, am I being a 5,000 watt third wheel right now?" Coming to her senses, Mel apologized awkwardly. "Anyway, the party is over now. I'll have to ask you and Edith to handle the rest." Haley didn't know what to do for a moment. Go to the nobles who were invited today and sincerely apologize. Never forget that you are the one who will become the head of the family, and you are also the one I have chosen. Haley immediately became full of confidence again. We should go back and see Yata. Mel's mind was in turmoil. Everything that had happened recently was so complicated. Suddenly, Haley called out to Mel. "Did you see Baron Doug today?" Only then did Mel remember what she had forgotten. Doug hadn't greeted Haley, the host. That means he must be related to this commotion. She would have to investigate him later. But before that, she had to ask the Duke to find the freckled boy first. But the Duke showed no reaction at all. He only snapped out of it when Mel suddenly shouted his name. After going out, the Duke instructed the knights, "You must find that boy as quickly as possible." This matter might become very simple. The love-struck Duke always confessed so seriously, making Mel's face flush and her heart race. On the way back, Mel once again asked the Duke to investigate that building. Of course, anything you want. I'd even tear down that building for you. After we resolve this, let's go on a picnic. We had some regrets last time. Let's go again as a family. Hearing Mel agree, the Duke's eyes instantly lit up. He even said bluntly, I really like you. Mel blushed instantly. How could he say such embarrassing words so naturally? Meanwhile, the little one was training hard, but he still couldn't meet Sizit's standards. Please aim properly. That's not the angle I just taught you, but my arm feels like it's about to break. Looking at Yata's trembling hands, he was puzzled. Didn't you volunteer to learn swordsmanship from me, young master? Come on, show Miss Mel your cool side. Get up. Sizit's encouraging words made Yata think of his mother. Mother, even if I don't show a cool side, she'll still like me. But I want to become more reliable until I can protect Mother. The little one's fighting spirit was reignited. Suddenly, his forward-moving body flew up. Sizit knew the Duke and the others were back. That's all for today's training. The little one couldn't wait to go and greet his mother. The Duke and Mel were still discussing where they wanted to go. If I had to choose, I want to go somewhere with snow. Unfortunately, it doesn't snow in the Empire. But have you seen snow before? Did you ever live in the Kingdom of Nixon? Mel remembered that in the Kingdom of Nixon, all 4 seasons were winter. She had to admit she had lived there before. Do you miss it there? How could I? I have precious people and things here. She turned her head and saw the little one running over. Seeing his mother, he chattered away. I'm so happy that Sizit is my teacher. Although I'm a little scared of him, I can feel that he's teaching me seriously. I can even practice with a wooden sword now. Watching her son talk about his past few days, she felt he had gotten heavier in her arms. Soon, she might not be able to pick him up in one go. She truly hoped he would grow up happy and healthy. Meanwhile, the knights were discussing the incident at the banquet. They had never heard of poisoning before. Until now, poison had only been used as a weapon to harm people. Now, it was making people have a rejection reaction to the ring. Now, they must confirm the symptomatic reaction of the poison to the ring. We must obtain the altered poison. I plan to poison myself to confirm the symptoms and find a solution. Ross's proposal was met with opposition from Lug. You're actually going to be a test subject? If you dare to do this, I'll go report you to the Lord Commander, he said and walked away in a huff. Ross really couldn't understand Lug's reaction. It's the most direct method. It's not like I'm putting it in his body, so why the big fuss? Sizit was completely speechless with Ross. What a guy who can't read the room. The little one finally opened his heart to the Duke. At night, when going to sleep, Yata excitedly told his mother about attack stances. Mel was also happy to see her son so cheerful. Don't worry about what happened last time. If you feel uncomfortable, Father will definitely treat you. That gentleman really seems like a good person. Hearing this form of address, Mel was a bit surprised. I thought you didn't like him. No, it's just embarrassing. He's so different from my previous father. Mel understood that Yata still needed time. When you're ready, you can call him Father. Okay, I won't make that gentleman wait too long. After Yata fell asleep, Mel walked out of the room and found Sizit waiting at the door. The young master forgot something at the training ground, so I came to return it. The young master really treasures this item. He must have felt Miss Mel's full sincerity. At Mel's invitation, the two went for a walk in the garden. I heard from Yata that you're a very good teacher, so he's very happy. It's the first time I've seen him so invested in something. I hope you can help Yata manifest his ring. But everyone's situation is different. It's possible the ring may not manifest. I'm aware of that, of course, but Yata can do it. Mel looked very certain, as if she could see the future. It was because of his mother's trust that Yata was so determined. I think I understand why the young master trusts Miss Mel so much. The young master believes Miss Mel is on his side, so he always works very hard to repay you. He trusts Miss Mel 100%, and he loves you very much. Hearing this, Mel was very happy. Seeing Mel smile, Sizit was momentarily lost in thought. Such a warm girl, so warm that even his master didn't seem worthy of her. Thinking of this, he suddenly came to his senses. He had no right to judge the relationship between the Duke and Mel. Back in the room, Yata was still fast asleep. The Yata of the past was no more. Could she be a little greedy and stay by Yata's side? Just then, the little one's tearful voice came, Mother, please forgive me. It's all my fault. Without a doubt, the main character of Yata's nightmares was now her. Mel, who had just been fantasizing, suddenly felt deflated. She thought about waking Yata up first. A wave of nausea washed over her. She immediately rushed out the door and opened a window to catch her breath. In the original story, Yata's trauma affected him for a long time. He couldn't be free from it even after the original owner was stabbed to death. Was I being too delusional? Can I not stay here as a beloved mother? What Mel didn't know was that Yata's dream had quietly changed. The originally fearful him received his mother's apology and her promise never to hurt him again. He also forgave his mother again in his dream. Yata woke up with tears in his eyes. He used to have nightmares every day, but now his mother would immediately apologize. On the contrary, his recent dreams had become happy. Soon, I probably won't have nightmares anymore. He felt very happy now. For mother's sake, I should also try to get along with my stepfather. With his mother's encouragement, Yata practiced his swordsmanship even more diligently. Sizit, was that last move really good? I wish mother could have seen it. The Duke watched from the side with a gratified look. It seems your skills have improved a lot. Can you show me that move again? Hearing this, the little one became unconfident. Sizit saw this and quickly encouraged him. You were doing so well until just now. But under the Duke's gaze, Yata was very nervous, not even knowing how to hold the sword. Hold a sword like this. You were doing it well just now, and then swing it down like this. That's amazing. I want to be as good as father soon. Hearing the word father, the Duke was clearly stunned for a moment. Then, a smile appeared on his face. He knew Yata had accepted him in his heart. Then, under the Duke's guidance, the little one's swordsmanship became increasingly refined. Sizit will continue to guide you well in the future. Yes, father. I will practice hard. Afterward, he ordered Sizit to tidy up and then meet up with Ross. We've caught that guy. The knights went to investigate the building. There was nothing inside. However, they found a small clue among the debris. Although it was torn and the content was illegible, Baron Doug's signature was faintly visible on it. This was enough of an excuse to summon him. The matter was handed over to Sizit. So what should we do with this guy? I know you were ordered to place the poison at the party venue, but I don't have any evidence. So, why don't you tell me yourself who ordered you? The freckled boy looked nervous, but still refused to say a word. In that case, he said, and had Sizit bring a piece of paper. Your sister is quite cute. Seeing the Duke use his sister to threaten him, the freckled boy immediately shouted excitedly, I don't want to harm your sister, but have you ever considered how long the money you get for working for them can support your sister? The new poison Doug created seems to have been tested on you. Do you know how dangerous that is? Lies. That experiment is completely harmless to the body. His Majesty the Emperor assured me. So it was His Majesty the Emperor who assured you. My son Yata was just simply poisoned. He will recover quickly over time. But you're different. Your body has been modified into a shadow that can produce a new type of poison. You will gradually be poisoned, and you might even be in mortal danger. Perhaps even your sister will suffer. I'm giving you a chance now. As long as you cooperate with us, I can help you find a way for both you and your sister to survive safely. Choose, me or Dawson. Meanwhile, Mel was making small cakes. The young master seems very happy lately. Because he's been learning swordsmanship, it feels like he's grown a lot taller. Hearing the maid's words, Mel's heart grew heavy. The more Yata got used to training, the more chances he had to get closer to the Duke. Once their relationship became stable, it would be time for her to leave. So, she couldn't develop any more feelings before then. The little one finally resolved his mother's inner conflict. The continuous rainy days made Yata feel very wrong. He was at an age where he should be strong and active, yet he could only stay indoors. Hearing this, Sizit couldn't help but smile. Who on earth taught you these things? It was Mother. She said I could do whatever I want at my age. I miss Mother so much right now. She's been using the excuse of being busy lately. I don't know if I should go see her. I wonder if it's just my imagination. Mother wouldn't intentionally avoid me. That must be your imagination. The lady is always very busy. I think it would be better if you did this. Yata thought that made a lot of sense. Mother will definitely be happy when she sees the picture I drew myself. Sizit was curious and wanted to take a look, but Yata blocked him. This is my secret. Meanwhile, Mel, who was handling work, received a letter from the Duke. The letter informed her that he had found the freckled boy from the party. He has agreed to testify in court that he was instructed by Dawson and Doug. A verdict will be reached soon. Everything will go as you wish, as long as I'm here. So, did you miss me today? After reading this part, Mel threw the letter away without hesitation. This way, she could easily get the mine back. She had a right to Haley quickly. However, this incident wouldn't be of great help to Haley. But even a small crack was enough enough to make Dawson anxious. From now on, I will shatter everything myself. Just then, a knock came from the door. A maid came in with a grin. If you see this, you'll definitely be surprised. Look, the young master drew this himself. You can admire it closely. Mel looked at the painting of him and the Duke. The image of her son from that day's dream flashed through her mind, but it was quickly replaced by joy. This painting would surely look good hanging there. Yata's behavior in the dream, and the boy who drew this painting, which one was his true self? She remembered that he couldn't go out to train today because of the rain. Mel immediately went to Yata's room. I saw your painting. It's truly amazing. I've already placed it in the most prominent spot. She recalled seeing him practicing his swordsmanship alone when she came in. If you're doing this to meet my expectations, you don't have to force yourself. But the little one shook his head and denied it. I practice swordsmanship because I find it fun. Besides, I want to become as strong as father as quickly as possible. Mel looked at the innocent child before her. When he grows up and can stand on his own, he will probably join the Duke's Knight Order. That way, he will never be abandoned again. The little one also noticed the change in his mother's expression. Although he didn't know what had happened, at this moment, he felt truly happy. Mother, I have something to tell you. The Duke always stood firmly behind Mel. In this happy atmosphere, the little one finally decided to tell his mom his true feelings. But the words took a 180-degree turn as they were about to come out. He originally wanted to make his mother proud of him. Instead, it turned into spar with me. Seeing her son's shy and dejected look, Mel knew he definitely wanted to say something else. His conflicted expression was still very cute. She truly wished moments like this could last forever. At this moment, Dawson was very flustered. Doug and that boy had both vanished. He didn't know what his situation was now. Just then, Mel paid a visit. She started by saying she was very disappointed in Haley. Because of that party, Haley's reputation has hit rock bottom, which has also damaged my own reputation. So I plan to switch to a different ship. Can you assure me that you won't disappoint me? Dawson didn't know Mel's intentions and didn't agree easily. He just asked in return why she had come only now. I was originally planning to support you. It's just that my fiancé has a bit of an aversion to you. Dawson suddenly felt a chill. Why would the Duke have an aversion to me? He has absolutely no reason to like you. Have you forgotten that you were the one who snatched the mine? Only then did Dawson understand. If that was the case, this was a good opportunity. He had originally fought with all his might to get the mine to solidify his position. Now, if he could get the Duke's support, what was a mine in comparison? So, gritting his teeth, he decided to give the mine away. If the mine can appease the Duke's anger, I'm willing to give whatever it takes. Soon, Dawson signed a transfer agreement. Mel took it and left without looking back. I didn't expect the plan to succeed so easily. Foolish Dawson. You'll never become the head of the family in your lifetime, because I will absolutely not let you get your wish. After returning to the mansion, Mel looked at her son's painting. Before I leave, I must also give Yata a gift. Whatever it is, it has to be something he'll remember for a long time. Just then, the necklace on her neck suddenly glowed. Mel got an idea and went outside, where the Duke was already waiting. What's the matter that made you rush over so urgently? Is it the power of love? Of course not. Did you use this to find me? The Duke was very displeased to hear this. What? So it was about this. Still, thank you for always wearing it. So, can you help me make another necklace? The Duke knew Mel definitely wanted to give it to Yata. This is the most special gift I've ever received. I have a feeling Yata will like it too. Good idea. For him, it will surely be a very meaningful gift. But Yata will like anything you give him. I'll send a craftsman over today. He should arrive before sunset. But to think I'm the one who gave you the most important gift of your life. For some reason, I feel a little happy. The love-struck Duke even wants to give the entire country to Mel as a betrothal gift. Looking at Mel's radiant smile, he couldn't help but confess to her again. You are also the most special gift I've ever received in my life. He was still secretly thinking about giving the entire world to Mel. After the two finished their conversation, the craftsman arrived at the mansion. Mel explained her requirements to the craftsman in detail. The decoration can't be too cumbersome, and the size shouldn't be too large. How much time will this take? Also, there's one more thing I need to keep from the Duke. After talking with Lily, the craftsman left the room. A few days later, Mel made a large basket of cookies and brought them to Yata. The little one was very happy. In no time, the large basket of cookies was empty. Also, inside this box is a return gift for your painting. Go on, open it and see. Looking inside, the little one couldn't help but start sobbing, then burst into tears and couldn't stop crying. Mel, at a loss, tried to comfort and check on him, only to hear her son's sobbing reply. I thought Mother hated me like before. That's why you've rarely come to see me recently. I was so worried. As he spoke, he started crying again. Mel looked at her heartbroken son, not realizing how insecure he felt. Now she was even more unsure of what he was truly feeling. So, Mom was busy preparing a gift for me all this time? Yes, so you should happily accept the gift. That way, Mom won't feel heartbroken. I understand, Mom. But even so, Mel remained determined to leave. After wiping his tears, Yata excitedly opened the box. He found a sparkling necklace. It's so beautiful. This is like Mother's, right? You must always wear it. This necklace can protect you. This looks just like the necklace Mother wears. So is this a family necklace? Because we're all wearing similar necklaces. Hearing her son's words, Mel thought about how the Duke would also wear one later. It really is a family necklace. This necklace is so beautiful, like snow from a fairy tale. Then let's go see real snow together in the future. As long as time allows, we'll go see the snow together. By the way, can you control your wand now? The little one got a little nervous hearing this. It's still very difficult for me. Maybe I don't have the talent for it. Mel encouraged him. I know you will definitely succeed. There's no need to be too anxious. In the original story, Yata would definitely manifest his wand. That's when he would join the Duke's Night Order. And that would be the time for her to leave. Hearing that he wasn't having much success yet made her a little happy. Because I want to stay by your side a little longer.